How's it going, everybody? This is Ron Sparkman, and I am the Chief Curiosity Correspondent for the Space Foundation Discovery Center. And you know what? We just had an amazing morning. We are on our way to Mars, and I know I'm excited about it. And to start off our 3-hour live stream today with some of the best voices in the industry, I've got the bossmen themselves, Rich Cooper and Kevin O'Rangers. Guys, how's it going this morning?
It's a great day to go to Mars.
I echo that. A great one.
Wow. Rich, but at a loss for words, what has the world come to?
No, not at all. Look, that was a gorgeous launch. Congrats to the ULA team for getting Perseverance and Ingenuity on its way. And of course, to the NASA and JPL team. Look, it's a great day to go to Mars. This is the third mission we've got going this month. When you think about, again, 51 years ago, we just landed on the moon, and that was just one nation. Now we've got 3 with a lot of other international partners all going to Mars. Hey, that's great.
I got to agree. So I'm stoked. I mean, this is the first rover I've seen go to Mars. It's Curiosity's sister. It's looking for life on Mars. There's just a lot of great things that are going on with this. And we're going to celebrate a little bit of that today at the Space Foundation Discovery Center with a day on Mars celebrating Perseverance. So, Kevin, I know we got some things lined up there, some special Mars things. You want to tell everybody a little bit about what's going on and what we have there at SFDC? Oh, and that we're open. Just so people know.
Exactly. I was going to start the morning off that way. Yes, the Discovery Center, the Space Foundation Discovery Center in Colorado Springs is open for business, folks. So if you are in the area, whether you are local to us in Colorado Springs or you're touring, you're coming through our city, our beautiful city, to see Garden of the Gods and all the various outdoor attractions, you have to stop by the Discovery Center today. So a lot of activities going on in our gallery, of course. For those of you that are fans of traveling and exploring on Mars, we have our Mars Robotics laboratory. So come on in. You can actually drive a rover on the surface of our Mars lab, give you an opportunity to actually send commands to our rover and be that mission specialist. So again, we're really super excited to be open for business, to welcome all of our guests. Again, if you are a Passport member to us, you can come into our Discovery Center anytime for free. If you aren't currently a Passport member and would like to be one, please do so by joining our family. The membership is $60. If you can't get to Colorado Springs, of course, tune in throughout the day for today's festivities. But most importantly, please visit our website at discoverspace.org. There you'll be able to find all kinds of downloadable lesson plans and activities and videos that allow you to essentially explore the universe along with us. So, Ron, I'll toss it back to you, but it's a heck of a day for us at the Space Foundation Discovery Center.
So, Rich, let's talk a little bit about Space Foundation. What's going on, man? We've had a crazy year already, and we've got a whole lot more coming up. So, anything that people should know about? Should we share that the inside at Astra, all the highlights that you get to share with us every week, and tell everybody a little bit about what we've been up to?
Well, there's a lot going on, and obviously, as everybody is looking at what's going on at Mars, there's a lot of other things that are starting to happen. Obviously, we're all still dealing with the COVID situation, but the one thing that we have found within the space community is that learning is always happening. And if you go to discoverspace.org, if you go to the spacefoundation.org websites, you're going to be seeing a lot more content about not only what's going on with Mars Perseverance, but you're going to see with the other missions that are up and coming. The thing that is so exciting about this is that when you see the diversity of countries and the diversity of people that are all contributing to this space economy, this is phenomenal. And again, it's not so much as a space race, but it is a global marathon. It is a shared marathon of which we get to discover what is going on. And again, when you take a look at the countries that are stepping forward with their own launch capabilities, I mean, again, Japan was a partner to UAE in getting their mission off to Mars. China has launched their rover and satellite and that system. And then, of course, we launched the Perseverance and Ingenuity of the Ingenuity helicopter. Hey, there is something for everybody in what is happening in space. And again, I think the other aspect that was, we look at what's going on with COVID and everything, we are seeing space technology, space science, and space people all working to combat this virus that we've all had. So space is literally, and the space community is one of those forces that is able to bring people together so that we can do missions like Mars. We can come up with the strategies and the efforts to fight COVID, let alone teach our students and others in safe ways. Again, this is a great time to be a part of the space community. I know it certainly is challenging for a lot of people that are out there, but at the Space Foundation, one of the things that we take great pride in is sharing that story. I like to describe my job, and again, I think I have the best job on the planet. I get to lead a team of people that get to tell the next story of the great human adventure in space. And that's not just here in the United States, that's around the world. So again, I get the coolest job in the world. If you take a look at, again, spacefoundation.org as well as discoverspace.org, you're seeing a whole lot of that. And as to some news today, I can't give the exact news because we've got a media exclusive we're working today, but we're going to have even bigger news today about the global space economy, some information that we're going to be sharing. So again, encourage people to keep their eyes on our social media outlets early this afternoon, as well as spacefoundation.org for that news. So, you know, that's a little bit of a preview, but I think what people are going to see is going to impress them, particularly on how this global space economy is growing and involving more and more people.
And so, Kevin, anything else you want to fill people in on SFDC before you head out and move on to other things? What we got coming up? You know, I know we just had the Explore Space, camps that we have. We got a bunch of things going on. Always, we're moving forward with some stuff. I'm sure in the fall. Anything you want to share with anybody?
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. Again, if you are in the area as a tourist or as a local, throughout the month of July, we're honoring all of our healthcare heroes that have contributed in our hospitals as part of EMT services to really help us through this difficult time with COVID, around the city, essentially around our nation. So if you are in the healthcare industry, we want to honor you, our heroes at the Space Foundation Discovery Center. So you and your family are free throughout the month of July, which we're running out of time here. So please come on in today, of all days. Join us for our celebration of all things Mars at the Space Foundation Discovery Center. We're honoring our healthcare heroes, and please visit us at 4425 Arrows West Drive, right along Garden of the Gods Road. So if you're on your way there, you can't miss us. You will see a giant astronaut out on our lawn. We call him George Jr. He's there to welcome and greet you as you turn the corner into the Space Foundation Discovery Center. So again, come on out, have some fun. And if you can't, as Rich mentioned, as we said a bit earlier, please visit us at discoverspace.org. Thanks, gentlemen. We're going to have an awesome day today. Again, everything and all things Mars. Thanks, folks. Enjoy your day.
All right. Thank you so much, Kevin, for being awesome. And so Kevin's going to head out, and the next guest we've got is Kevin Debruin. And you know what? I love this for the fact that Janet is just uber punctual, and Janet happens to be online a little early. So, Janet, you want to join us too? It looks like she's tapping her screen right now. Let me see if she wants to come in. She's a little less focused now, so we'll wait and we'll see if she pops up, and we'll bring her in if so. So, Rich, I know you got a busy day too. Do you need to head out as well, sir? I know you got some stuff.
I do need to head out, but I got to commend Kevin on the absolute uniform of the day. The only thing that would make that even better is if it were sort of a reddish hue for Mars. I mean, we've got the Meatball Classic logo there. We've got the worm, as it has been called there. You know, again and again, you know. You came more than appropriate to this attire. You know, Ron and I are sporting our Space Foundation wear. Boom. But again, we're thrilled to have Kevin. We're thrilled to have Janet and everybody else. Again, it's a great day to go to Mars. And again, this is the first step in a larger journey. I know Ron and Kevin and others that we have on here, when we go to land on Mars and we go to have that experience here in about 7 or so months, you know, if we could all share in the 7 minutes of terror and get through it together and hopefully hear again, we've landed and everything is great. We can all hoot and holler at that point. But again, this is an exciting time for all of us to take a look at what's going on. The space community brings hope and opportunity in all of its forms. And so thank you, Ron, for sharing this conversation with everybody. And Kevin, again, thank you for your time. And I'm going to make room for Janet. But hey, guys, have a great day. And keep your eyes on the Space Foundation website today for some other news on the global space economy.
Perfect. Rich, always great having you on to kick off the show, sir. Good to see you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you, Rich.
So, Kevin, there's no better person for me to start off the show with than my most interviewed person. And, and 8 times now. I know, for real. Like, it's a count now. But, I mean, how do we not start with the NASA JPL guy, the guy that used to work on robots at JPL, and talk a little bit about, what was the experience like, to be there and to see those pieces come together over those years? And, now it's on its way to Mars. That's got to feel, and I know it's not a project, if I remember correctly, that you directly worked on, but you're still walking by it. You still know what's happening with it, right?
Definitely, Ron. Like, being at JPL is a surreal feeling, whether you're working or just visiting. Like, working there every single day, you'd think that, it just becomes maybe mundane, you get used to things, but no, there's always something new and exciting going on. I got to see the rover be put together, the descent stage, that sky crane, along with the heat shield. But no, unfortunately, I didn't work on Mars 2020. It's so hard to call it Perseverance sometimes because I've been calling it Mars 2020 for so long. But like, just to go into the high bay when you're at work, you can take any time you want to just go and watch this thing be put together in front of your eyes. And to see it slowly, piece by piece, come together is a miraculous feeling. It's like hard to believe that it's actually not on the surface of Earth anymore. Like, we've been staring at it for so long in the clean room, and now it's out in space. It's on its way to Mars. Like, I was part of studies for Mars. I really wish I could have, put my hands on the Mars rover, been a part of that team, so I could be like, hey, I hope that thing launched. But you know me, I'm an icy moon guy. We got Europa, Titan, Enceladus, Pluto, Triton. I guess I just called Pluto a moon, but whatever. So those missions coming up to launch.
Don't you have a show where you talk about space, Kevin, and then you just call it a moon? We heard that.
So the whole Pluto thing, some people call it a planet and a dwarf planet. Technically we could call it, 2 moons orbiting each other. Charon's pretty big, and they don't just orbit, Pluto. They orbit a central point. So it is maybe 2 moons dancing. I don't know. Try and change my mind. This is how I try and backpedal.
That's like backpedals out of it to say well, that almost made sense. So, but I mean, let's talk about that a little bit. You've been doing this great show for a while now, teaching kids about space and science. It's so if you haven't seen it, if folks haven't seen it, it's called A Place of Space. So tell us a little bit about that.
A Place Called Space. So it's on YouTube. So youtube.com/A Place Called Space. And I'm teaching about space, and I want to really do it in a different way. Kind of like maybe going back to my childhood and how I got to learn was more using tools. I'm in a hotel room in Utah right now, so I don't have my props, but normally there's an inflatable solar system behind me. I got Lego figures of rockets, got the Saturn V, the ISS, the lunar lander, and I like to bring space down to Earth. When I'm teaching you about space, it's going to be easy. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. It's going to be like simple to understand and digest, because space is something we cannot physically touch and survive. If you actually physically touch space, you're going to burn your hand, boil your hand, your entire body's going to go kaput. So I like to try and bring space down to Earth with fun projects. So we're using inflatable planets. I use hula hoops to teach about the rings of Saturn and even pancakes. So I'll do this one. So the rings of Saturn, right? You think they're massive. Well, they are. They are massively wide, but they're really, really thin. So it's like if you take a pancake, fold in half, bite the middle out of that pancake, that's the thickness of that pancake compared to how wide it is thicker than the rings of Saturn. So if you were to scale that up super big, the rings of Saturn are so small. So I like to use everyday things to make space accessible, right? Like, we can look at a 2D or an awesome picture of Jupiter from Juno. That's the spacecraft around Jupiter, by the way. And it's super cool, right? But I want to try and make it tangible. So tangible space. I know that's really hard, but that's what I love to do. And I'm predominantly teaching elementary school kids. So it's anywhere from second grade. I've had some 4-year-olds tune in and their parents are like, they couldn't take their eyes off the screen. Primarily though, second grade to about 5th grade. But I got to tell you, there are some adults that are tuning in and they are really enjoying some of the stuff I'm doing, which is a pretty good feeling. So the overall idea is to just teach about space in an easy to understand way across all ages. It's primarily for elementary school students, but I throw in some adult references in there as well.
And I mean, I think that's one of the best things about it. If you can do that mixture, I mean, there's so many great science communicators. You watch Physics Girl, you watch Diana Cowan, and you see what she does. You see what what Emily Calandrelli does. Like, you can watch those TikTok videos. You're going to be interested in it. Like, she's just she can just jump around and bounce around so much. And we've got a lot of those great communicators, and we actually have one coming on here in just a moment, and I'm going to bring him in here in a minute. But when you're teaching kids and you're teaching them about Mars, like this is pretty early and it's summertime. We probably got some kids that are out there. Tell us a little bit about something that really excites kids when you talk about the red planet. I know what mine is, so I'm going to hear yours first.
Well, what I like to say is that it's the only other planet that we have cars on, right? So I can't say the only other place because we've got 3 cars on the moon, but we are about to have our 5th car on the surface of Mars. And they're like, cars on another planet? I'm like, yeah. And we drive them with remote controls. But let's say you want to make the rover go forward. You go, okay, forward, but then it doesn't move right away. You got to wait somewhere between like 4 to 30 minutes before the rover moves. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's because it's so far away. It's like 60 million miles away. So talking about the cars on the surface. So we started with Sojourner. That was our first rover, I believe. So it was what I like to say was Sojourner, right? So Sojourner rover and then the Carl Sagan Memorial Docking Station. So there were 2 things. And the rover was about the size of a microwave. If I was at home, I'd go in my kitchen, pick up the microwave and show you that. This one's about this big. The wall. You can't do that one. And then we upgraded. We got Spirit and Opportunity. And those were the size of golf carts. All right. So we're getting a little bit bigger. And the way we landed those, this is what makes the kids excited too, is that essentially they're big bouncy balls. Right. So we dropped them on the surface of Mars and they bounced until they stopped, but they were big airbags. We deflated the airbags. Then something opened up and the rovers drove out. So that's pretty neat. Bouncy balls on Mars with cars inside of them. But then Curiosity, and the same way we're landing Perseverance, we had to upgrade because they're both about the size of a small car. Perseverance weighs more than Curiosity. So you come in, you deploy some parachutes, and then what we're going to see in 7 months again is the Sky Crane. So it's a crane that hovers on rockets and lowers down our rover on a rope. Once it touches the surface, we cut the rope, the Sky Crane flies away, and then we got our rover on the surface. So I talk about microwaves, golf carts, and cars being on the surface of Mars. And then I tell the kids, one day, you're going to actually be able to drive a car on Mars. One day.
Well, and I think that's one of the coolest things that we have. So, at the Discovery Center, we have our Mars Robotics Lab.
That's so much fun.
It's such a great time. It's the Lego-based ones, too. And you know what? This is the perfect time to bring in our next guest who's going to follow up here. We got Space Cadet Chip, who is a roboticist as well. Perfect timing to bring in the man, the myth, the legend himself. But you were talking about driving rovers here at the Discovery Center. I'm not actually there. I'm at home. But if I were there, that's what we'd be doing, and we're going to be doing that later today. And it's such a fun thing. And so both of you are into robotics. It's kind of your jam. It's one of the things you love. Engineers. So I kind of want to pick both of your brains about this a little bit. What is it about robots that you think just drives us nuts that we have to know more? And why are we also terrified of them? We both love them and we're scared of them.
Well, I'll say we're terrified because of the movies.
That's the movies did it, right?
You watch iRobot and you're like, okay, no, AI is a bad thing. We don't want that happening.
Yeah, definitely the movies. I think though one thing that we tend to do as people.
Aaron, your voice is just a little low. If you can turn your microphone up just a little bit or get a little closer to the mic.
Okay, let me try to bump up the gain.
There we go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
It's still a little low, but we can still hear you.
Okay, yes. Okay, what about now?
We can hear you enough. You'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah, so what I was saying is that I think it's because we as people tend to project our own feelings and emotions into these robots, which makes sense because we invest so much time in creating them. So if you think about Opportunity, which in 2019, last February, sent its message, and that message got translated to my battery is low and it's getting dark. That message made us feel like we all of a sudden would connect to that robot, because you can just feel the emotions. And I think that's what makes robotics so interesting and so powerful, is because these robots are an extension of ourselves. They're an extension of our consciousness, our hopes, our dreams, our desire, and honestly, I would even argue a little bit of our souls too.
Yeah. And I mean, Kevin, you've got to work around the biggest and best robots in the world. Maybe right alongside Boston Dynamics and that creepy robot that they throw balls at. Right. But other than that, so I don't think anybody's throwing anything at Curiosity or Insight or Perseverance. But what is it about working in an environment like that where it's some of the brightest minds from all around the world just building the best robots ever?
I am fascinated by every single person I run into and I meet at JPL. Like, you think you've met the smartest person, and then you meet another person who you think might be the smartest person. You're like, all of these people are the smartest person. And me sitting there, I'm like, do I belong here? Like, everyone is super smart, and you're always learning new things, which is great. And what I love about building the robots right at JPL, like what we're doing with the Mars rovers and why we feel so attached to them, is that they are the, like you said, extensions of ourselves. We're building things that are going out to explore where we're not able to explore yet, or even places that we can explore. Like, we have robots here on Earth exploring places that are too dangerous for humans to go to. So it's that curiosity inside each of us that's always itching. We want to learn and know more. And robots are one way that we can extend our fingers out. I always think of like Inspector Gadget, go, extendo arm, right? Those are our robots going out there to find that information that we can't access, or we don't have the technology to bring ourselves to yet.
I see what you did there, throwing in Curiosity. So, Kevin, I know you got to go. You're out in Utah for a reason that we can't say.
So what I can say is I'm out in Utah filming. So I'm joining a large YouTube channel, and I'll tell you what it is in the end of September or October when some of the new videos come out. But I'm going to be here for a month and a half, so I got to get into the studio and get to work.
Well, and it's great. It seems like every time that we talk, you're teasing the next big thing. So our Space Symposium panel last year, like, oh, I'm on Curiosity Stream, working with them now, Space Investor, woo! And then last time I think you had one too, man. So it's always great to talk to you, especially you know what? And this wasn't on purpose. I really don't do this. Right underneath my MOBA globe.
So
MOBA. Is it MOBA? MOBA. I keep saying it wrong. It's MOBA. That's it. I still don't say it right.
So I was thinking about this like right before I came on. I was like, I might be getting more book hits now because NASA and Perseverance are both in the title.
Yes, they are. Right? They really are. That's great. You didn't even know, man. See, look, just moving ahead.
Well, Kevin, Ron, thank you so much for having me on, man. It's always a blast. So continue on with Shep and the rest of the day. Just keep sharing that science, man.
We'll do. Kevin, we'll see you soon.
All right, thanks, bud.
So, I mean, I know that this is an exciting time for you, man. We've got Perseverances on the way, and I know it's exciting for a few different reasons for a couple different people, but what's the thing that makes this particular mission so exciting to you?
I think the fact that this mission is entirely designed to answer a question that humans have been asking for over 200,000 years since we first looked up at the brilliance of the night sky. And that question, it's simple, but it's powerful. It's what else is out there? And so with this mission going to the Jezero crater, I think that there is a chance to answer whether or not life has existed on another place besides Earth. And that kind of discovery is massive. It's on the scale of fire and gravity and the transistor. And answering that question with a definite yes would change the course of human history and alter our understanding of our place in the stars.
Yeah, man. I mean, seriously, it's one of you mentioned it. It's one of the questions. What was before the Big Bang? Is there life? If there's life in our solar system, what does that mean for elsewhere? And we look at places like Mars, and it's closest to home, but it's just right around the corner. It's in our cosmic backyard, right? And it's just such an incredible place to go and search. But I think one of the great things about what you do is, you get out, you get in front of students, very much like our next guest, Janet Ivy, does as well. And we'll have her on here in just a moment. She does great things with kids too, but you like to get in front of that audience and tell them what they're capable of, what they can do. And we all love Alex's talk that he discussed, where he's like, he talks about the names of everything, like all the past rovers and landers. And that sparks something in you. And I know that that's something, you being a roboticist and being the CEO of your own company and getting out there and teaching these things, that matters. So that connection, can you tell us a little bit about that? And really, why does this mean so much to so many of us?
So let's start and look at the names. Let's think about it. Spirit, opportunity, curiosity, now perseverance and ingenuity. Those names are more than just the winning entries from student contests or marketing ploys from NASA. They're reflections of humanity's greatest virtues. Think about it. Since 2004, we've had a continuous robotic presence on Mars. There are people alive right now, yes, right now, who are old enough to drive cars and don't know a time without our cars carving tracks onto the dirt of the red planet. So, as an engineer, I could spend hours telling you all of the practical reasons for sending rovers to Mars. Like we all know, robots, just like us, are robots unlike us. They don't need food, water, or air to survive, which is very good. Those things are either non-existent or in very short supply on the Martian surface. But today, I'm not speaking as an engineer. I'm speaking as a person. I'm a person with feelings and dreams, and most importantly, a soul. Um, like I mentioned earlier, that question of what's out there and the other question of are we alone? Those are things that we've been asking for the last 200,000 years. And I think missions like these, robots like these, enable us to answer those questions without the hassle and risk of traveling to space ourselves, which, don't get me wrong, I'm a big advocate for that too, but that's a process and it's hard. So with these robots, they kind of act as an extension of us. They are like our avatars. They can go out, they can gather the information, they can relay back and help us answer those questions that we've been asking for centuries and millennia. Um, it's really easy to think of these robots as lifeless machines, but today I want to challenge that perspective. So, like I mentioned earlier, last February 2019, the Opportunity rover sent its last status message to Earth. And after 15 years of exploring the Martian surface, it told us, my battery is low and it's getting dark. Well, it didn't directly say that, but that's what the NASA scientists translated it to for us. And, that was powerful. News outlets ran with that. If you looked on the front page of every internet forum or every space internet forum, there were people posting pictures and drawings and these long emotional memorials to this robot. We mourned it as if we had lost a living being. And you know what? So I realized at that moment that the general public, general society, they learned something that we roboticists are fortunate to know through the practice of our craft. And that's this. Robots are more than machines. They're more than tools. They are capable of carrying our emotions. They are capable of carrying our hopes. They're capable of carrying our dreams and desires. I love using robots as an inspirational tool. There's something about it, the creation of a moving system that can think. You're almost, in a sense, bringing something to life. And that is inspiring to people. That connects with people because that's what we want to do. We are by nature creative beings. And so to take everything and put it into a system and have that system go out and do amazing tasks is something that really inspires us and is important to us. So no, those robots aren't just cold, lifeless machines when you really think about it. Um, that's because when we invest the time to build them, when we invest the time to program them, and we invest the time to understand them, we attach parts of ourselves to them. We attach our hopes, our feelings, and I would even argue a teeny, teeny, tiny part of our souls.
My man, that was great, and what perfect time. Well, and I know that Janet's going to love meeting you because Janet loves to work with educators. So if you don't know Janet, Janet Ivy from Janet's Planet, she's been all over this morning. She was on live streams all this morning. Space 3 Minute, Explore Mars. She's everywhere. She's got kids to teach later. So you two are perfect to meet if you don't know each other yet. And I see that she said in the private chat here is like, I want to know you. So Janet, meet Aaron. Aaron, meet Janet.
Hi, Janet. What's up?
A pleasure. It's so funny. We're right in the middle of what we're calling our Janet's Planet Virtual Astronaut Academy. My friend Yarouge, it's like I turned my thing around. She's in there. She's dialing in from Pakistan, and
awesome.
She's teaching them Scratch at the moment. So it is in capable hands while I join you guys and talk about what I love to do, which is to basically shepherd the next generation of space explorers and into that STEM pipeline and go, you guys are the generation that is going to make my space dreams come true. So I feel like I'm in the position of being a great kind of like coach that's cheering this next generation on to go to the moon, onto Mars, and elsewhere in our solar system.
Well, what a perfect way to say it, that you're a shepherd, because Aaron's last name is Shepherd. So,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if she knew it. Maybe she didn't catch it, but
I didn't. Happy accident.
Happy accident, Aaron. I loved having you on today, man. Any final thoughts before you head out and head on into your day, doing more awesome things as CEO?
Yes, actually, and I'm in the middle of a meeting with NASA, so I gotta hop back in and talk about the stuff I designed. But one thing that I really want to leave with is the fact that I am so excited because as a roboticist, I find perseverance and ingenuity fascinating. But as someone who understands the importance of using science to inspire, I just see so much potential in this, because robots traditionally are amazing tools for inspiring students to science. And the data that we're going to get back from perseverance and ingenuity, the pictures, and hopefully the discovery of fossilized ancient Martian life is something that I'm sure will inspire a new generation to look towards the stars and say, yes, let's go there.
I love it. So appreciate having you on. Space Cadet Shep, check him out on social media. He's doing all kinds of awesome stuff. We appreciate you, man. Oh, by the way, great shirt. I see you got a STEM Media shirt on, man. I love Nehemiah. He's great.
Oh yeah. I've been rocking with STEM Medias for years now. Like I love Nehemiah. He's got a great platform and a great community. So guys, check him out. STEM Media.
Agreed. Yeah, every Sunday. Well, many Sunday nights he does a live stream on Instagram. You got to go check it out. Dr. Mabry, I think is how I said it. I'm not sure because we've never spoken face to face yet, only through messages. But he's great. So, Aaron, we appreciate it, man, and we will see you on one of our future shows for sure.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, I'll see you soon, Aaron. So, Janet, I mean, again, you've been super busy, and you've been doing like just so much, but when it comes to Mars, you're the president of Explore Mars now, and you've been doing some really great things there. And Mars matters so much to so many of us, and the message there is a big one. And I know that you tied in with Janet's Planet too. So let's talk about what Mars means to one of the best educators of our generation.
You are so very kind. There's so many amazing, great educators, and I delight every time that I meet another one that is kind of like similarly aligned as I. And I think it's kind of like space for such a time as this. Space inspires. Space is that gateway of like understanding. And it's like, as we look outward, we also have kind of a compulsion to look back to this pretty little blue ball that that houses everything that we love. So for me, the reason Mars matters is just that we really are on an appointment to find out whatever we are. Like, we're on this journey to find out exactly, like, how do we become? What is this thing that makes this, our particular planet, so special and in the Goldilocks zone? Can life exist elsewhere? So for me, Mars is going to answer some of those questions. Why did Mars survive? I mean, technically it still could, it's like, it doesn't have much of an atmosphere. Where did it go? If it ever did house life, what happened? And are there lessons there for us to learn? And, I was asked this morning the question, did I consider Mars as a plan B? And I don't know that I considered as a plan B as much as a yes and. So that as hopefully we saw this morning, and hopefully this kind of elevates all of our humanity of watching Perseverance launch this morning. You guys, see what we can do together. There were countless engineers, scientists, researchers, technicians, artists that have been dreaming this dream for so very long. It wasn't just the folks in Mission Control. It wasn't just the folks there at Kennedy Space Center. It took an army of folks to really jettison Perseverance on its way to Mars. So when I think about that, I want everyone to be thinking, this is what we are capable of when we decide, hey, look how we can do this better together. And so that's my hope. I think I have a hope that Mars actually sort of informs us how to be more collaborative, better people. When I ask a round table of kids, what do you hope for Mars? That's one of their questions. They think that we will be better. And I'm like, why do you think we'll be better there? We're taking it wherever we go, there we are. Why do you think we will be better on Mars? And the kids all go, because we'll have to. Our very survival would depend on making sure that we are considering everybody. So I think if there is a grand kind of proposition in my love of Mars, it's that if that we go, we may just find ourselves to be a kinder and gentler Martian.
Always love the way that you put things, Jenna. And so that's actually one of the things I wanted to mention too, is that you mentioned collaboration. It's something that, you and I obviously are very big with. And this morning you were on Space Humanities show for the live stream with just a group of wonderful people. It's kind of weird too, because I just actually got a message from Rachel because I wanted to see where I could watch that live stream because I was doing one for for our group. And but anyway, so I was it's such a great group. Rachel Lyons, we just had one of our most recent Space for You podcasts. Go check it out, where she talks about Space for Humanity. Bill Nye was on, Alyssa Carson was on, Dr. Sian Proctor was on, just a lot of wonderful people. So how did that go this morning? And tell us a little bit about it and what you did and what you were able to share with everyone.
That was it was such an amazing invitation to be included with these really superstars of space, from Dr. Tanya Harrison. It's like you can follow her on Twitter. I'm a big fan. It's at Tanya of Mars. To Bill Nye the Science Guy, to Declan Kelly, who founded Space for Humanity, Mimi, Jared, all the amazing people that were on there. We had the wonderful astronauts, and then George Whitesides from Virgin Galactic. And I think, I was just, it's kind of like, I'm from Tennessee, so it's a little bit like Minnie Pearl. I'm just so proud to be here. And, I had the, I had the very good fortune of, speaking right before we went to the launch. And, one of the questions that Sarah asked, you may have recognized her from she's the host of Contact on the Science Channel. She was asking me too. It's like, what is this message to this next generation? And I just said, you know what? The message is go. We must go to Mars and do it now, because we need to give our students, this generation, and truly maybe all of us, a reason to dream beyond our houses, our communities. We need something to rally around. We need a reason and a kind of purpose. And so, when I think about it, curiosity is in our DNA, exploration. There's no greater thrill than to explore. And I really believe we need to teach science and STEM and STEAM subjects, and above all, like space science, as the most exciting adventure story of all time, and say, hey guys, who wants to come along and let us figure out something on Mars? Because hey, what's more exciting than the possibility of donning your spacesuit, hopping in a rocket, and going, to another planet 140 million miles away from the sun and doing something nobody else has ever done before? So that's, I think, what I was able to share with everybody this morning, that yeah, space is the greatest adventure story of all time. It's open for everyone. It inspires, and it always gives us an opportunity to turn back around, look at that blue ball that we have the privilege of calling home, and thinking about whatever we figure out as we head there only benefits Earth. Whether that's we figure out spacesuits that keep astronauts impervious to radiation, we may just have solved something. We may just have solved cancer. When we figure out how to grow a garden on Mars, we may just have figured out how to solve food scarcity here on Earth. So I always like to say, it's like when we go there, we're still going to be figuring out how to make it better here. Because whenever we're on Mars, we're going to have to don our spacesuit before we go for a walkabout. And I heard Dr. Cyan Proctor say that when she was doing a Mars analog, they always had to suit up before they, kind of did the Mars activities in analog. And she said after 4 months, the thing that she missed was wind on her face, the smell of dirt and trees and earth. And so again, guys, we live in the pretty sweet spot, but going creates even a greater appreciation and perhaps even some greater discoveries that can benefit us.
Janet, you're always a wonderful guest to talk to and bring on and talk about anything and everything that has to do with Mars and education. And you're the queen. You're queen of the world. So thank you so much for coming on. And no familiar face. We got Anna with us, and she's going to come on next. And it's always great to talk to two amazing science communicators like yourself. So Janet, thank you so much for coming on and saying hi with us today.
My privilege, Ron. Thank you for all that you're doing. Ron, if you don't know Ron, follow him on all platforms. He's the busiest guy in space right now. And he is, the most wonderful thing is that Explore Mars got to snatch him up to be our social media director. We're going to give him a cooler title. He wants one. We're going to let him make that up for him, whether it's Chief Visionary Officer. But again, your network is amazing. Anna, it was amazing to see you this morning. I can't wait to get to know you better, but I have kiddos to get back to over here in my little academy. I'm going to go inspire some future engineers and astronauts and artists and researchers today for space, and you guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Janet. We'll see you soon. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
The one, the only, Ana Cristina Olvera is going to join us, and she's going to give us a quick breakdown for our Spanish-speaking community all over the world and talk a little bit about what happened with the Perseverance rover today. Anna, we're always glad to have you. Thank you for being here with us and allowing us to reach out to more voices around the world. We appreciate it.
Yay, thank you, Ron. It's time to call your abuelita, your mom, your papi, your tia, whoever you like to feel and know a little bit more about space, about Perseverance in Spanish. So I'm about to give you a bit of a breakdown of the mission in Spanish. So get ready, okay? Are you ready with all your Spanish-speaking relatives and friends? Okay. Bueno, pues Perseverance se traduce como perseverancia, obviamente, y es una misión, parte de la misión Mars 2020, que tiene unos objetivos muy especiales. Ellos quieren descubrir, tienen la pregunta de si existe o ha habido alguna vez vida en el planeta rojo. Bueno, ya sabemos que fue lanzada hace unos minutos a bordo de un cohete United Launch Alliance, un Atlas 5, y tiene planeado llegar a Marte el próximo mes de febrero, por ahí del 18 de febrero, un poco después. La duración de la misión es de 1 año marciano o 687 días terrestres, pero sabemos que Curiosity, por ejemplo, tenía un tiempo de misión similar y llegó en el 2012, pero sigue funcionando hasta nuestros días. Así que, por supuesto, que se espera que Perseverance pues tenga una duración de misión muchísimo más larga de la que tiene planeado. Las exploraciones pasadas lo que estaban apuntando a descubrir eran condiciones en Marte que mostraran que pudo haber sido habitable. en algún momento de su historia. Esta es la estrategia para Mars 2020, que es encontrar algo notable, guardarlo para luego regresar a uno de los grandes laboratorios de la Tierra. El vehículo explorador va a aterrizar en el cráter G0, un cráter ecuatorial, es decir, que está cerca del ecuador del planeta, y este cráter G0, que tiene unos 49 kilómetros de diámetro, pues se cree que albergó un lago, y justo van a aterrizar donde estaba el delta de este lago. Y lo que están buscando es rocas que puedan dar fe de presencia biológica. Pero en el caso de G0 tienen más certezas. Las imágenes satelitales ilustran claramente el contorno de un gran lago y el delta que lo alimentó. Y los científicos creen que las astillas de rocas carbonatadas que permanecen ahí pueden marcar lo que habría sido la costa del lago, y puede ser un sitio que ofrezca pruebas de lo que se busca, que hubo vida en Marte. Los mejores ejemplos de estas rocas van a ser perforados y van a ser sellados en pequeños tubos del tamaño de plumones o marcadores de un pizarrón. Serán 42 tubos para almacenar regolito y pequeñas rocas, es decir, polvo marciano. Y estos tubos son de 5 centímetros de longitud y 1 centímetro de diámetro y tienen una masa de 15 gramos. Los van a dejar en una zona listos para ser recogidos por un rover europeo, un vehículo explorador europeo, que va a ser parte de la misión Sample Retrieval Lander, que será una colaboración entre la Agencia Espacial Europea y la NASA, y que tiene planeado despegar en el 2026. Este rover o vehículo explorador va a colocar estas muestras en un cohete que a su vez las va a poner en órbita alrededor de Marte, donde serán recogidas por el orbitador europeo Earth Return Orbiter. Con suerte, estas muestras de Perseverance llegarán a la Tierra en el 2031. ¿Cuánto pesa y mide este vehículo explorador? Bueno, pesa más de 1,050 kilogramos, más de 1 tonelada, mide 3 metros de largo y 2.7 metros de ancho y 2.7 metros de ancho y 2.2 metros de alto. Es el tamaño de un carro compacto pequeño. Así es como lo compara la NASA. ¿Cuánto costó esta misión? Bueno, esta misión costó unos $2,100 millones, que cae en el promedio de lo que han costado las misiones pasadas a Marte, como Curiosity, que costó 2,500 millones según la NASA. ¿Qué instrumentos lleva? Bueno, Perseverance lleva 7 instrumentos principales. Uno es MEDA, que es muy emocionante porque es un instrumento que está desarrollado en España, así que seguramente si hay algún español viéndonos, pues estarán muy emocionados de que esto esté sucediendo. Este instrumento está encargado de hacer mediciones climatológicas, medir la velocidad del viento, su dirección, el nivel de humedad y la temperatura. También está Metacam Z Color, es un sistema de cámaras que se va a encargar de tomar imágenes panorámicas a color y tridimensionales de la superficie marciana y su atmósfera. Las cámaras pueden hacer zoom y enfocarse de tal manera que se puedan realizar análisis detallados de los objetos distantes. También tenemos a MOXIE, que es un instrumento que es una prueba de concepto y está encargado de producir oxígeno a partir de la atmósfera marciana, que está compuesta por dióxido de carbono, para ver si se puede producir oxígeno, ya sea como combustible o para utilizarlo pues para respirar en una futura misión tripulada a Marte. También está Pixel, un instrumento que va a medir la composición química de las rocas marcianas a una mínima escala y también puede tomar fotos muy cercanas de las rocas y de la textura del suelo. Y con esto pueden o pretenden buscar señales de vida microbiana pasada en Marte, algo así como fósiles de microbios chiquititos. Luego está RIMFAX, un instrumento que va a observar las características geológicas bajo la superficie de Marte empleando las ondas del radar. Y está Sherlock, un instrumento que está montado en el brazo robótico del rover y lo que busca es detectar minerales, moléculas orgánicas y posibles bioseñales, es decir, vida pues presente con el uso de espectrómetros, un láser y una cámara. También está Supercam, donde también participa un español con el uso de una cámara láser y espectrómetros y va a identificar la composición química, atómica y molecular de las rocas en el suelo marciano. Y bueno, como les decía, en esta misión trabajan varios hispanos, entre ellos está Cristina Díaz Hernández, Luis Domínguez y Diana Trujillo, y por supuesto todos los españoles que han trabajado en MEDA y en la Cámara. Su nombre, pues ya saben, fue elegido por Alex Mather, de 13 años, que vive en Burke, en Virginia. Él escogió el nombre y bueno, él estuvo presente durante este lanzamiento y también va a llevar un helicóptero, Ingenuity. Este helicóptero pues va a ser la primera aeronave humana en volar en Marte, por lo que estamos muy, muy emocionados. Y bueno, esta es una visión general. Estaremos en febrero esperando a que pues esos 7 minutos de la muerte se superen exitosamente para que Perseverance pueda aterrizar o amartizar más bien y nos dé toda la información a través de estos instrumentos. And I think that was it.
That was awesome, Anna. You're always great whenever you come on, and I always appreciate the fact that you're willing to come on and share some really awesome stuff with us and reach out to audiences we don't normally get to speak to. So we appreciate having you on, and you're the best. Thank you so much, and we will definitely see you on the next one. So I'm excited to bring on the next two people who are always great, always killing it. Dr. Tanya Harrison and Jake. You know what? I wasn't paying attention the other day. I said Robins, but somebody said it might be Robins.
Yeah,
so
Robins,
tell me which
just
one's
like
right.
The bird. Just like the bird.
It's Robins. Oh, okay, man. Well, now I know, and I feel a little bit better about it. So I'm glad to have both of you on. And first off, Tanya, how are you doing? How are you feeling? I know that you've been you just went through a pretty serious surgery to hopefully make your life better, right?
I'm very tired, but I'm running on adrenaline today for Mars, and then once this is over today, I'm probably going to go back to my couch over there and sleep for a while.
Nothing wrong with that. I got about 45 minutes of sleep last night myself. So one of the reasons I want to bring you on is obviously it's in the name on all your Twitter handles, Tanya of Mars. It's kind of a thing for you. So you've got a background with working on Mars rovers, and I know it's something that's very close to your heart. So I just want to, what's it feel like for somebody that's been there and done that? Particularly like your TEDx talk where you talked about, like, I'm the first person to see this picture of Mars. That's me. That's me. And I know that you have a little bit more of that connection to it. So can you tell us a little bit about what you're feeling, what it's like for somebody has worked on these to sit and watch the launch?
It's really amazing because you spend so much of your life working on missions like this. I don't work on Perseverance anymore, but I used to work on Mastcam Z, and I actually worked on Mastcam Z in its previous iteration when it was supposed to be on Curiosity. So to finally see those cameras actually end up on board a mission going to Mars is really exciting, and I can't wait to see the first images come back from there, even if I'm not working on that particular rover anymore. So to have this piece of you going to Mars and being a part of that is almost undescribable. It's like living your dream every single day.
And so this is a big mission. They're out there, they're looking for life, and so robots, man, we love them. And in particular, one that we all love was Avi, and that was one that you have particularly a little love for. Janet was talking about it just a little bit ago, and so was Aaron Shepard. Saying that last message that came home. And I know that there was a show that you were in recently where I think that you were getting really emotional about that. So why do we connect with these robots in this way? What is it about it that just, makes us, feel like they're family?
It's interesting because I'm not sure we connect with things like the satellites the same way that we connect with the rovers. And I think it's because it's so much easier to anthropomorphize the rovers. I mean, they have eyes, they have arms, they have legs and wheels. And so we can get emotionally attached to them, kind of like it's a dog or a robotic pet that we have on this other planet, but it's acting so much like a robotic emissary for us. Like we're telling it, go look at that rock, go drill this thing, go take a picture of this. It's all things that we could be doing if we were standing on the surface. So it's more relatable than a satellite taking pictures from space of Mars. And I think that helps us get more attached. Plus the operations for these missions is so much more involved when you're talking about a rover versus an orbiter. When I worked on Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, I literally came into my office in the morning, put on headphones, and just got to target stuff without really talking to anybody else day after day. It was just whatever I wanted to do. On the rovers, it's meeting after meeting after meeting where you're coordinating with different teams on different instruments and figuring out how to allocate power and timing and all this other stuff. So it's so much more complicated. So you really become a family with all of these people, having to work with them so much more intimately on a day-to-day basis. And I think that also ties you a lot more to the mission than if it was just a satellite.
And so we've got these missions that are going on right now. Anthony says, like, "Hey, I like satellites.
Satellites are great too."
Satellites are great too, but that totally threw me off about what I was going to say. Oh, okay. So you one of your degrees is in geology, and we've had not one, but not just this rover, but InSight is also looking into the history of Mars. So what in particular is exciting about this rover for you, and like the search for life, the sample return? You want to be in that room whenever they get it back and be like, "Hey, friends, can I come over for a day?"
Oh yeah, definitely. I would love to be there when it comes back. I'm not an astrobiologist, so I'm more interested in the geology. I'm curious to see what the lake environment was like in Jezero and look at the actual sediments in the delta itself. But obviously, the big reason we're there is the search for life. And obviously, if we get evidence back in those samples, that's going to be so amazing. And so I would love to be a part of that.
And Jake, you're a podcast host, so I know you got to have a question for Tanya before it goes to just me and you.
well, Tanya and I just spent like 2 hours together because we got to do a launch stream together. So I think we've hashed out a lot of our questions already. But
we're sick of each other now.
No, I'm really glad to hear you tell the story. Tanya has done a lot of outreach with me before, and she's always been. She's had a lot of good stories to tell about the way these missions can inspire not just her and the science community, but others as well. We were talking about the Mars helicopter being this tech demonstration, and it might inspire the next Tanya of Mars, who was inspired by Sojourner, the little rover that has evolved into what we launched today with Perseverance. And so I just like listening to her tell all of her stories about Mars. It's great. I'm happy to just sit here. It's great.
I love it. So, well, I mean, Tanya, anything that you kind of want to share with the audience of what you're up to? I know you're at Federal now. You do a lot of great things, and we always try to touch on some stuff. And if you all don't know, we do have a pretty recent podcast on Space for You with Tanya that goes in depth. I think it's like 30, 40 minutes long, and you can get a whole lot more of Tanya, which everybody always wants. Everybody loves Tanya. And that should be a Facebook. We should make a Facebook fan page. Everybody loves Tanya, and talk about it. But you're a wonderful representative for for everything space, really. But let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now with Federal and what that looks like in comparison to what you were doing for Mars for so long.
Yeah, so I've actually sort of left Mars to come back to Earth for a little bit, working for a commercial Earth observing company called Planet Labs, which takes full imagery of the entire landmass of the Earth every day to look for change, to try and make change visible, accessible, and actionable. And I used to look at change on Mars every day with the Mars Color Imager, or MARCI, on the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. And so when I learned about Planet a few years ago, I was really fascinated that there was a company doing this here on Earth. And so I was really fascinated. I wanted to come and be a part of that. I still love Mars. It's my first love. And I still try to do as much Mars as I can in terms of being involved in research projects here and there, doing consulting on different sci-fi projects like books and TV shows, and maybe a movie. If anybody wants a Mars consultant for a movie, that's my dream that I haven't done yet. Give me a call. But I try to keep a toe still in Mars because that's always going to be my first love, and I would love to make my way back there someday.
There's an organization, and I don't want to say the name wrong, but I think it's Sci-Art Exchange. And have you heard of them?
Yeah, I think I signed up with their mailing list before, or I'm in their database or something like that.
Okay, I got to meet one of the really great people that works for them, so maybe I can nudge them and be like, "You gotta have Tanya, man. Tanya's the person to go to. Go to Dr. Harrison. You gotta do it." So, Tanya, you want to tell everybody where they can find you on social media? Any last thoughts? You always got inspiring words. Just don't make us cry like that now famous talk that you had last year at Space Vision.
Try not to make anybody cry. Even I cried at that, so I don't remember much of it because I was just bawling in front of everybody. So if you were there, thank you so much for attending and telling everybody that it was great, because I don't remember it. Making myself vulnerable in front of all of you. I'm easy to find on the internet pretty much anywhere as at Tanya of Mars, Tanya with an A. You can see over here, wherever it is, under my finger. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Medium, pretty much anywhere you can find me. I'm easy to find on the internet.
Awesome to have you on. And Jake, you sure you don't want to throw a question in real quick before you go?
She's
like,
got
I'm
it.
on the
She's
spot,
got it. Happy to see the stage. Yeah.
Dr. Tanya Harrison, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us today. And also, we've got to give the love. Last time I think the last time I saw that was name drop time with William Riker himself, Jonathan Frakes. So it's good to see you. It's good to see you wearing it again. Brings back good memories.
So it's because I have to wear a dress with my surgery, and I only own 2 dresses, this one and one other one. So I've just been like doing laundry, switching back and forth. So repping Star Trek every day right now.
Are you in an S racer chair? Is that what you're in?
This is actually my roommate's desk chair because I can't go up the stairs to my desk right now.
Fair enough. I was going to say, hey, well, that looks familiar. It looks very similar to mine. Tanya, it was great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you on the next one. Jake Robins. Now I'm going to say your name right, which makes me happy. So the We Martians podcast, you talk to so many people in the Mars space. It's kind of your job, right? So I mean, I know that you know a lot of the details of what's going on. What most excited you about what we saw this morning with this, the ULA launch, and it's just so much work has gone into this. What's the most exciting thing for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think today it's just about the launch, right? And this is the 3rd mission we've seen head to Mars this summer. And the launches have so far been pretty flawless, which I'm pretty excited about. I was expecting more technical issues and more delays. We had a couple of delays with Perseverance and a couple of delays with Mars Hope, but otherwise it's just kind of gone pretty smoothly. They hit the top of the hour. It was just off the pad like a bat out of hell, and it was really good to see. So I was just really stoked for the launch. It just went without a hitch. We're still waiting to hear some telemetry back. It looks like it hasn't sent back a full payload yet. So knock on wood that everything is still good, but it looks pretty good so far.
And so tell everybody a little bit about We Martians in case they for some reason they live on a rock, or maybe they're just not space people. We definitely get a lot of people that come on this show that are seeing it for the first time because we try to get out to families and and all that fun stuff. So tell us a little bit about what you do and the inspiration for We Martians.
Yeah, well, I mean, so the point of We Martians is to really focus on Mars. I made a decision early on when I started the show about 5 years ago that I wanted to be a specialist kind of show, right? That's the great thing about the internet. You can have a really niche audience because you're so many people are available to it. So I wanted to go after Mars and talk about all the kind of cool things that you can explore there. So I interview scientists, I interview engineers, science communicators, all kinds of different people that are connected to the Mars exploration scene. And we just do these sort of 30 to 40, 50 minute, interviews and really get into topics. So if there's something you really want to know, you can really unpack it and peel all the onion layers back and really kind of get down with something. So so with a year like this, with 3 missions going to Mars, I've been busy. I've had a lot of work these last couple of months getting ready for this. Lots of Mars 2020 content. Interviewing members of the science working group like Chris Hurd, or JPL engineers like Cristina Hernandez. I even had Tori Bruno from ULA on to talk about the rocket and how you get ready for something like that. So it's a lot of fun. I get to talk to some really, really awesome people.
Thanks for that lead in. I just want to let everybody know that there was a last minute guest that will be joining us later. We're going to have John Reed, the chief technologist for ULA. He's going to talk to us about the rocket and about what went up today. So that was awesome. Thanks, Jake. I always love whenever people help me out there. It's like perfect segue. So it's something we actually haven't talked about yet, and we're going to talk a little bit more about other Mars missions later. We have Dr. Bernard Poing from ESA. He's going to be on, talk a little bit about Mars Express and ExoMars. So UAE just sent the Hope mission, and this is the first mission from the Arabic world to go, and I'm sure you've got an interest in it, man. So share a little bit about it. How exciting is this to see the world going to Mars, right?
Yeah, and the UAEs are really it's an interesting story. So I just actually put out an episode yesterday. It was a full interview with 3 members of their team, and I got to learn a lot. They threw together a mission very fast. So I mean, to give you context, the Perseverance rover was formally approved in 2012, and they've been building it for 8 years until today. The United Arab Emirates Space Agency began in 2015, and they put a Mars probe out this year. So in 5 years, they basically invented a space program and also built a probe to go to Mars. And kind of the trick that they did there was to embed their engineers into partner institutions. So they actually built the spacecraft in the United States in Colorado, and they sent engineers who like lived at the Laboratory of Atmospheric Space Physics at CU Boulder, and so they embedded themselves, they integrate themselves with these management teams, they had mentors, they learned, and so that way they can get the help they need to go quickly, but also learn all this stuff, and it's really paying off. So they have this really young, excited engineering and space team that's running this mission, and they're really making it happen. It's pretty cool.
So what else is going on Mars that you're excited about, man? I mean, I know there's a few things, it's funny that we're talking about it now. And so we were, I was in the middle of, the last stream that I was doing, and we had Hoppy Price on, who, if you don't know him, check him out. He's a chief engineer of the Mars exploration at JPL. And all of a sudden he just like hoots out of nowhere, and we're like, what's going on? It's like, earthquake. There's an earthquake in LA, like maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes before the launch. And and I just thought that was funny that somebody that is generally has a hand in InSight that's trying to find Marsquakes, gets jostled during the next launch, the very next launch. Like, it's jealous. Like, no, like I'm not done yet. Show me the cool stuff.
I guess if there's one organization you want running a seismic instrument on Mars, it's the people in California, right?
Absolutely, they're perfect at it. So InSight's exciting. We're looking at the history of Mars, how it formed, and so I would definitely want to talk about that a little bit. What's exciting about that mission? So I don't want people to forget it. We're only a year out of it.
Yeah.
Marsquakes.
Yeah, InSight is it's a really fascinating mission because it's different from kind of what we're used to with rovers. Rovers are a very visual spacecraft, right? We get all these cameras on these rovers, and we can see what's going on. We can take pictures of the panoramas. We can take pictures of these rocks. We can really, use our sight to tell what's going on. InSight is very different in that it's not really camera focused. Its main instrument is this seismology package called SEIS. And so they're measuring vibrations, and this instrument is so precise, like the levels that they can get with this thing, that I think when they were calibrating it, the example they used is they were calibrating it in Colorado where it was built, or where it was calibrated rather, and they could hear through seismic vibrations waves hitting the shore in California. So that's how sensitive this instrument is. It can pick up those little vibrations. And so we've got one of these now on the surface of Mars. They've had to do this complicated process where they pulled it off the bed of the spacecraft, put it on the surface, covered it up from the wind. They keep the temperature the same. It's in a vacuum. It's all these like really, really precise kind of things they can do with it. And they can hear Marsquakes. So just like an earthquake here on Earth, they have little tiny Marsquakes. Sometimes they're from, like meteorites hitting the surface. Sometimes they're actually faults in the ground that are shifting for whatever reason, and they're picking that up. And it's kind of interesting because it's not like exciting. There's not breaking news a lot of the times. It's just sort of quietly listening day after day after day and putting together a picture of what's going on. And using those seismic, measurements, they're able to peek inside of the planet and actually detect, where's the core, where is the mantle, where is the crust of this planet, and figure out what's going on underneath the surface, which we have never been able to do before. So it's actually really, really exciting.
Yeah, it's really one of the best ones out there. And I love that you're talking about Colorado, because our next guest, Dr. Graham Lau, is right here in Colorado, astrobiologist. We're going to talk to him about life on Mars, what it might look like. Is it even there? We don't know yet. But before we do that, Jay, can you give everybody just a quick rundown of where they can find you on social media and where they can check out your podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. So the podcast is at wemartians.com. So wemartians.com. And then you can get that in kind of whatever podcast player you like to. We're in all the directories, which is good to know. And then you can see my handle, where am I, down here. That's me on Twitter. You can get all the podcast news at we_Martians. And I'm kind of all over the place. So it should be pretty easy to find if you search for that. We did a great webcast this morning for the launch, and that's up on YouTube. So if you just go to the Twitter, it'll be all over there. You can watch some of the guests we had. We had an astrobiologist, just like you, and then also people from launch services and from JPL talking about the Mars helicopter. So it was a really fun event. You can definitely check that out, or just get the podcast. That's where the main content goes.
Wonderful, wonderful stuff, Jake. It was so awesome to have you on. Everybody go check out his stuff, subscribe, listen to his podcast. And man, we'll see you on a show in the future very soon, I'm sure.
Thanks so much for having me on, Ron.
Absolutely. Jake, we'll see you soon. Dr. Graham Lau is not a
Oh.
man who is a stranger to podcasting himself from NASA's Ask an Astrobiologist talking about it. So who better to have on to talk about life, the possibility of what they may find on Mars. So first off, give a plug for Ask an Astrobiologist so everybody can know a little bit about what it's about, and also give a plug for yourself. Tell everybody a little bit about your history as in astrobiology and what you do.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So me first. I love myself, I guess. So I have a background in biology, chemistry, astrophysics, and a PhD in geology. And I've always been curious about whether or not we're alone in the cosmos. And that led me into doing work in the realm of astrobiology, in microbiology, working in geochemistry and polar environments, and then getting involved in planetary science and trying to learn more about whether or not we're alone, and trying to study things on Earth like analogs for Europa and for Mars. And through my graduate work, when I was doing research as a graduate student before my PhD, I got really involved in science communication, and I really started getting interested in how we can bring this awesome quest to understand the nature of life to people around the globe. And so that kind of led me into being involved in podcasts and shows and writing and speaking. And that led me to becoming a host of Ask an Astrobiologist. Our show started off being called Talk to an Astrobiologist many years ago. Dr. David Grinspoon was our very first guest for that show. That was run through saganet.org, which was a social network for astrobiologists, and is now kind of focused more in helping to bring Ask an Astrobiologist and bring expert knowledge about astrobiology, about life, about planetary science and things like that to people who have questions from around the globe and who want to learn more or even become astrobiologists. And so the show itself then got sponsored, supported by the NASA Astrobiology program. And so with their wonderful support, we've been able to grow the show from Talk to an Astrobiologist into Ask an Astrobiologist. Our producer and director, Mike Toyon, is a wonderful human being. He knows his stuff really well. He's really great at producing video. And so he has us doing this show, which is a monthly live stream show where myself and sometimes my co-host, Sanjoy Som, we take turns interviewing other astrobiologists to talk about their research and their work in astrobiology, but also about their lives and the things that drive them to be involved in this quest to understand life, and some of the things that kind of make them tick. I think sometimes people forget that scientists are also human and have a lot of really cool passions. Like one of our guests, Morgan Cable, she's a wonderful astrobiologist who does lots of icy world stuff at JPL. She's also an outdoor unicyclist. So she does like a unicycle with like a mountain bike tire and goes like unicycling in the mountains basically. And it's incredible. And like scientists do so many other awesome things besides just their science. And so it's cool to bring that too. And so I am a little bummed. I had some family issues pop up this week. We were going to have an Ask an Astrobiologist this week featuring Doctors Kenda Lynch, Francis Rivera Hernandez, and Svetlana Nevo. Unfortunately, we couldn't have that episode due to some issues, some personal issues for me. However, I think in about 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have them on the show as a panel episode to talk about perseverance and about Mars astrobiology. I also have an episode coming up next week with Jacob Hawk Misra. He's leading a conference next week called Technoclimbs, where they'll be talking a lot about exoplanets and these things called technosignatures, signs of technological civilizations out there in the cosmos that might exist. And so I'll have him on the show to talk about his research, studying exoplanets and their atmospheres, and looking for signs of intelligent alien life. He also had a paper come out in Scientific American this past week, co-authored with a good friend of his, where they suggest that we really should be studying some of these unidentified aerial phenomena, some of these things that we can't quite explain just yet in the nighttime sky or in the sky. There's good reason that we scientists should approach it objectively and try to study some of these phenomena that we're now seeing. And so, yeah, so there's a lot of really cool stuff going on with Ask an Astrobiologist. Lots of great episodes coming up. I'd love to have you guys watch the show too.
So, I mean, we've got to get into the most pertinent question. What is Perseverance looking for on Mars for extinct or extant life? What is it that you would search for? Astrobiologists, they send you back something. What's the thing that makes you say, there's probably life on Mars, we should probably get humans there? Or even then, and the next question would be, is there anything that for sure would tell you it's life that maybe people, I mean, I know that's probably a question maybe people don't ask enough. I don't think I've ever asked it, but what is it that would say there's life on Mars? I mean, other than something you're breathing. There's so many different forms of life.
That's the first anecdote that kind of hit my head was this story. I don't even know if it's true, but it's an old story that Carl Sagan had taken the Viking cameras out into the Mojave Desert to test them, and one of the things he wanted to test was like on like a cow or animals walking by, just in case a Martian decided to walk by the camera, just so we had a calibration. If we saw that, if we saw some organism get up and walk or slide or whatever it does across the field of view of the camera, it'd be pretty easy to say, that's life. That looks like a living thing right there. If it was like a little insect-looking creature crawling around, that'd be pretty huge. But we're not quite looking for that. I mean, if that happens, it'd be astounding. But we don't think that those kind of creatures exist on the surface of Mars that we can tell from any kind of data we have. We have no reason to think such things exist right now. However, we can look for signs of past life if it existed on Mars in the near surface, and potential extant life if it's still there right now and somewhere in the near surface. So with Perseverance, we're not going to be digging down very deep or taking very deep samples or anything like that. So we're not looking for subsurface life, for deep life, which could be there. But we're looking in the rock record of Mars, at the surface rocks, to understand the mineralogy, to look at some of the geochemistry, and to look for potential organic molecules that could signify biology. When it comes to life detection, though, it's difficult. You can't just have just one single thing. If it looks like a cell, if we see like a little spherical shape or something like that in a rock, that doesn't necessarily mean we found life. Just because we found something that looks kind of like a cell. We have to look at the environment around a structure if we find a morphological biosignature. And we look for other things like chemical biosignatures, signs that life was involved in some processes in the rock in the past. And so with Perseverance, we're very much looking for that kind of sign of life. And this is huge. I mean, this is the very first mission since the Viking landers to specifically be seeking for signs of life, to actually look for whether or not there's signs of life on Mars. And that's huge. And it has some really cool instruments for doing that. I think I'm most excited, for Sherlock, since I've done Raman spectroscopy myself in my graduate research. It's a really cool methodology and instrumental approach. And the way that Sherlock's going to be using Raman will allow it to understand some of the mineralogy of the rocks it's looking at, but also to look for organics in the rocks as well and really understand those organics. And so that's going to be really, really cool. If we can pair some mineralogy showing where life might have been active, along with some organic molecules that could be diagnostic features of life, those things are pretty huge. But we always have to remember, too, that life on another world might not be life as we know it. And it's very difficult to look for alien life that's different than us. And so one thing that's now kind of gotten really big in this realm of astrobiology is something called agnostic biosignatures. Looking for signs of life that would be signs of life regardless of whether or not it's Terran. So it doesn't have to be based just on life as we know it. And to do that, we really have to start looking for some very basic, fundamental chemical and physical processes of what life does. I'm very humbled to be involved with the Network for Life Detection. It's a current research coordination network with NASA Astrobiology. You can find them at nfold.org. It's nfold.org. And we're an organization, a group of people in the astrobiology community who are trying to figure out how can we find life? What are signs of life that are diagnostic, that we find it on another world like Mars, that we can point at that and say, this is a sign of ancient or even present life.
So one last thing that I want to talk about too, because we, that earlier stream I was doing, Moxie came up, and with your background in with geology, that's an exciting one, and it's something that not a whole lot of people have talked about, and I know that you were really excited about it. So let's touch on that as we wrap up.
Oh man, I'm so excited for Moxie. So I'm not just an astrobiologist. I mean, all of us have passions in many places, and for me, I'm also a humanist, and I really think that one of the greatest things about being human is exploration. We are a curious species. It's led us to so many great discoveries about ourselves, not just through developing the tools of science to better understand our place in the cosmos, but through developing culture and art and music and all these wonderful things that we've done. And part of exploring is we go out and we learn more about our universe, our world around us. And so I want to see humans go to Mars. And for us to get humans to Mars, to start living and working together and developing new societies, new rituals, and new ways of living on the red planet, we need to figure out how humans are going to live there. And Moxie is a really big step in that direction. So Moxie is a test instrument. It's going to be an in situ resource utilization, or ISRU demonstration to show that we can take carbon dioxide from the Martian atmosphere and we can use electrochemistry to break that carbon dioxide up to release carbon monoxide, which we don't need, but also then to create oxygen, to create molecular oxygen that we can use for astronauts, for Martianauts on the surface of Mars to breathe, to have air to breathe, and they'll have to take a lot of extra air along with them. And we could also use that oxygen for a fuel source for rocketry, so that astronauts, if they want to come back to Earth from Mars, could actually have a fuel source produced on the Martian surface that can come back with them. And in situ resource utilization is a huge step forward for getting humans out into the universe and exploring. When we start going to asteroids, we need to learn how to mine and harvest resources from those asteroids. When we go out to icy worlds, we have to learn how to survive in habitats that we want to take with us to those worlds. And for Mars, we need to know how we can survive on the surface of Mars and how we can create the materials we need to live there from Mars itself. And so this is a huge step forward. Moxie is such an awesome instrument. I'm so stoked for it.
Dr. Graham Lau, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today and talking with us about all the amazing things that you do. You're always up to something interesting and always talking about great topics. So everybody go check out Ask an Astrobiologist. And yeah, man, can't wait to see you on the next live stream.
Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Bye.
Thank you. Dr. Mariba Jah, my man, the myth, the legend. How are you doing, sir? So before we get started, this is something I always got to talk about. My very first space symposium, I was volunteering and feeling a little out of place, and one of the first people to talk to me. Actually, there was two people. There was Dr. Aaron McDonald and Dr. Mariba Jah, and made me feel welcome and talked to me and picked my brain, and we've been friends ever since, and even a bit of a mentor at times. So I'm really glad to have you on the show, man. It's been too long since we've done one of these.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much, and I'm stoked. Good stuff happening.
Yeah. So, well, let's get started with one thing is that you do have a background in Mars. People know you a lot as the space junk guy now, but let's talk a little bit about that and, like what your history is and why Mars matters to you.
Yeah. So basically my whole thing has really been astrodynamics, science that, studies motion of objects in space. I was pretty much like the Rich Purnell character in The Martian, doing gravity assist and that sort of stuff. And I think one of the cool things about astrodynamics that's always fascinated me, and especially Mars, like I always wanted to work at JPL. It was my dream to be a so-called spacecraft navigator. And I got to achieve that dream after doing grad school at University of Colorado under the late George Bourne. And so that's what I did. I mean, I worked on, I got trained as a spacecraft navigator on Mars Global Surveyor. It was already there. So it's like try to do no harm. The thing's already there, so make sure keep things operating. But then my first mission, navigating something to Mars, was part of Mars Odyssey, and I was the new guy on the block. And so the way these things happen at JPL with the nav teams is there's a group of interplanet navigators that I was part of, and since I was a new kid, the mission manager, Bob Mace, he's a great guy. And he's like, okay. So we got this new guy, and let's see where are we going to fit him in. And so I just volunteered for, the night shifts, holidays and weekends and that sort of stuff, which of course made people happy. And that's how I got trained on Odyssey. And it was very fascinating. And I think the thing that really amazes me about these kind of missions, especially to Mars, right, is even though I'm not part of the science team when I'm navigating stuff to Mars, just really delivering such amazing capabilities to either orbit the planet or to the surface. is every one of these objects, it's almost like it has its own personality. And I know that that might bug people. It's like, oh, you know, these things they're not sentient and yada, 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 but they have their own behavior. And as much as you try to characterize this stuff before launch, you weigh the stuff, you take pictures, you kind of see the shape, the materials, all this stuff, and you test things. Once the stuff's on orbit, these things have, you know, developed personalities of their own, and you've got to know, you've got to find a way to do that. And it's detective work. It's like Sherlock Holmes, because you can't physically see the object. The only way for you to kind of see it is indirectly through radio signals that you transmit, and the stuff comes back, and there's the whole light time effect of things. So it's not instantaneous. And based on the way these radio signals behave, basically it's photons. We have to be like the world's best interpreters of photons. It's like photons go interact with the object, come back, and they come back with information about all sorts of things: size, shape, material properties of the object, and how the space environment is influencing this stuff. And from that, you have to unpack these photons, understand kind of the behavior of this object, and you have a plan for how you want this thing to you know, the path that you want it to follow. And then there's reality. And then the sensors, there's no such thing as a truth sensor. They're all noise and biased in some way. And so taking into account, they have imperfect observations, right? They're prejudiced. In the presence of the prejudice, you need to figure out as much as possible what the truth is, so that you can steer this thing on the right trajectory, so that you can deliver it as intended. And I have to tell you, it gives me goosebumps just talking about this stuff, because yeah, I mean, that was my passion. It was like, I love doing that. I was like, wow, I can't believe I get paid to like navigate. It's almost like I have blindfolds because I can't see stuff, navigate stuff just based on interpreting photons from radio signals. And then you see the awesome science delivered as a result of this stuff. So to me, it's like, it's amazing that it all comes together. So many people, and it's almost like a miracle that it all works.
And so, obviously, you've got a background in a lot of things, and then you know, and this is something we've got to touch on. You know, a lot of people say, you know, why are we going to Mars? We got problems here, and then you say people on Earth like, no, we got to go there. But there's this thing in between, and that's something that not a whole lot of people pay attention to, is the mess that is in space and the orbit around us. It's something like, I remember one time I looked at the numbers, and I'm sure it's more now, but it was like there's 3,000 or 4,000 operating pieces of technology in space, and there is recorded 24,000 to 25,000 pieces in space. So that means most of it is junk. No, it's smaller, but you're moving at, you know, the speed of orbit. You know, you're looking at something that, you know, it's a bullet's this big. You know, imagine something that's moving at, you know, an exponential rate. And so that became kind of your baby. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. And then I know that there's something that you've been really excited about recently, and you think it's something we need to discuss a little bit more. So let's talk a little bit about the space junk first.
Yeah. So look, after my time at JPL, my family wanted to move to Maui, and I couldn't be a JPLer on Maui, so I had to say goodbye to the JPL days. But then I said hello to the, you know, Air Force Research Laboratory days, and so I lived on Maui for a few years. And that's when basically the attention went a little bit towards Earth instead of Mars. And, you know, the Department of Defense has the largest database, public database of anthropogenic space objects. So objects that are derived from human activity or human made. And so out of all these anthropogenic space objects in the database, like you said, about 26,000 total, ranging in size from cell phone to the space station. Only about 3,000 or so of those work, and everything else is like garbage, dead, and still like in these own like orbital neighborhoods and lanes. And the thing is that most of that stuff doesn't come back. We keep on putting more and more stuff there. We don't have globally agreed norms of behavior. You see the stuff in the news all the time, not just about the junk, but it's like even geopolitical contestation, right? It's just like, let's see, it's the 30th of July on Monday in Vienna. the US and Russia met bilaterally for the first time in like 13 years to talk about, can we come up with norms of behavior? Because, supposedly Russia is testing, anti-satellite weapons in space. But it's like, it's a he said, she said kind of thing. And there's no globally accessible body of evidence for people to draw their own conclusions from. And so as we send stuff to Mars, there's this kind of soup of stuff around the Earth, like what we're doing to the oceans with plastics, this growing number of anthropogenic space objects in these different orbits that we have to kind of like punch through and brace ourselves that we don't hit on the way there. And that just can't be the way that we do things in the future. It can't be the right answer. In the same way that we're trying to limit single-use plastics on Earth, we should be striving to limit single-use satellites on orbit. And it's like, listen, design this stuff with demise and disposal and recycling in mind, and let's try to limit the whole single-use satellite kind of thing. So that is now kind of my new thing. And I got to tell you, looking at space exploration, sending people to Mars, I saw the NASA Artemis Accords. I love the space debris mitigation and stuff like that it talks about. But I also have to say this, right? It's like, if we send people on Mars, let's say we could send people on Mars like right now with Percy, right? When this thing gets there, what would humans see? Well, they see some rovers, some stuff that smashed into the planet. They'll see some parachutes flapping in the wind. It's like, we're already doing it. This whole thing about just littering other places, you call them monuments all you want. It's trash. So it's like, we're just doing it to other places. We got to do things differently and think differently about this stuff and be more about custodians and stewards of all these other great places in the solar system, and not just like send stuff to where it's just going to be rubbish and who cares? Space is big, planets are big, who cares? Like, that can't be the way we do stuff.
Well, and I think this is going to lead into what you've been talking to me about for about the last year or so with tech, and it's something I've never heard of. You introduced me to it, and you kind of shared it with me a couple different times, and I know it's something you want to take to more conferences and talk about. So as that last question before we go to our next guest, tell us a little bit about what this is and what clicked with you, because, I mean, it went from, like you were talking about it a little bit, and now it's your thing, and you think it's really something special.
Yeah, so really appreciate it, Ron. So a few years ago, went to Alaska, had a very moving internal epiphany kind of experience, and just seeing the disparity between natives and everybody else, the rest of us Americans, and looking at environmental issues and just seeing in Alaska this disparity, and recognizing that there are indigenous people that for thousands and thousands of years have developed these principles on how to be in balance with their environment, how to be in balance with their own ecosystem. And so this stuff is also called traditional ecological knowledge or indigenous ecological knowledge. And it turns out, like the Inuit, the Aborigines, the Maori, and Navajo, and some others, they've lived by these principles for thousands of years. Aborigines for 60,000 years. And so some of these tenets are just very obvious, like, before you do stuff, understand the relationship between all these things in the environment, and understand what your possible impact, consequences, and unintended consequences might be, and develop norms of behavior and manage it with stewardship in mind, and all these things. And so, yeah, to me, the basis of space exploration and space sustainability are the voices of these indigenous people that, again, for millennia have understood what it means to be in balance with their ecosystem. So I think that's really what should be the foundation for how we should behave in space.
Always just, inspiring to listen to. Always learn something, man. Like, even 10 minutes is enough. So tell everybody a little bit about like where they can find you before we bring in our next guest. And man, you're the man.
Yeah, so really, Moraba at utexas.edu. Just Google my name. I have some TED Talks and that sort of stuff. I'm very easy to find. But yeah, having a conversation with me might take a little bit, but I'm very receptive, so I welcome it, and thank you.
Say your first name again. Have I been saying your name wrong for like 5 years now?
So here's the thing. My name is from Sierra Leone, and the way they pronounce it is Moriba, and so that's fine. So I answer to dude. I answer to many things, but yeah, in Sierra Leone they pronounce it Moriba. So
Moriba. Okay, well I will try and remember that for next time and make sure that I can fix that.
It's all good.
Good to see you, sir. Always, Dr. Jaw. Thank you for coming in and sharing your words of wisdom with us.
Likewise, my brother.
All right, I'll see you soon.
Yep. Cheers.
Makai Eustace, what's going on? How you doing?
Howdy, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. And, you know, if we're going to talk about Mars, and we're going to talk about the things that we're going to do to get humans to Mars, and you had a pretty cool experience not too long ago, and I definitely want to talk to you about it. Because, one, you want to be an astronaut, so you've done some you did an analog astronaut program. There we go. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that experience of, one, what it was like to live in a simulation of Mars and what that kind of showed you about what it's going to take for us to get there.
Yeah, so I had a recent mission in January at High Seas. And High Seas is a high fidelity analog facility in Hawaii on the Big Island. And it was amazing. It was not my first experience. I've had two other previous experiences, one in Utah and one in California that I had in 2018. But this was the first one that was 2 weeks up there with a crew of 6. And it was also a crew of all women through the Sensoria program. And this one was obviously more high fidelity, which means it was, more, the environment was a bit more extreme. We were more isolated, on top of a volcano for, as you see. And and also we were doing tons of different research. We had a really interesting research portfolio to explore and some different projects. So overall, it was a really awesome experience. And I'd say even, if I got to go there again, it would still be as exciting and amazing as the first time.
So, you're looking at a future of, going to Mars one day, and I believe that you will certainly be in that group. So what was it that you think was one thing that you learned that, maybe it can be applied to anybody that's listening? You're going to learn a lot of lessons in life, and this is something that's unique to people like you that are doing what you're doing. So anything in particular that really jumped out at you, they're like, you know what, this changed my life and day to day?
Yeah, I think, when you get into, this mission, or, kind of like, you're very mission oriented, right? So you have a start and end goal. You have specific training to be prepared for, meeting certain goals, and then like exiting, and then, hey, did we meet this? But you're also really dependent. It's not just about like what you can do. It's about what your crew members can do and how you can, best support them. So you can all accomplish it. It's not like a one-person show of, I got to get everything done, or I got to get everything done for me. And it's not just, oh, I got to help that person all the way. It's that we all need to be on the same page of how we're going to get this done. And that takes a lot of work. It's kind of teamwork on extreme, especially when you have a small crew and you can't really, reach out to other people, and you can't really escape them. Maybe we might be isolated from other people right now. But if you have like other people that you have to, work with in an isolated environment, you really need to come together and have clear communication and clear understanding between each other. And that is itself is an exercise that would be applied to anywhere. And I think we definitely see that with, what we have to do now, the March 2020 team had to do, is to do that extra step and extra seek out, dig deep to be able to communicate with each other, make sure all the needs are met, but most importantly, still meeting that mission, still accomplishing the goal.
And so, the mission today, there was a couple of different pieces to it. The big one I think is, the search for life. The Mars sample return is like right behind it. So, is there anything in particular that really excited you about the mission today?
I'm really excited about, is it Moxie? I'm pretty sure it's called.
Yep. We were just talking about that a little bit ago. Yeah.
Yeah, with the in situ, tool and using that, because I've when I think about actually going to Mars, studying there, or living there, you mostly think of like all the things you'd have to take with you. It'd be great if we could actually have, the resources there, and we'd actually be able to, take more with us if we know that they're going to be there on Mars. So I think that's a really important development. We're focusing on like the atmospheric side, but also hopefully in the future, I want to see how we can use like the soil and the minerals there, so we can have like some type of sustainable or constant, presence. That's we don't have to bring everything.
I love it. So I know that you only had a little bit of amount of time to join us today. So tell us a little bit about what you're up to, where people can find you, and follow you on social media. You're always doing great things, and it's always fun to watch you on Twitter.
Yes, I'm mostly on Twitter at Astro_Eustace. As I'm on Instagram, and right now I'm in the Air Force, working as an engineer. But I'll always be involved with the space world and aerospace industry as a whole. So yeah, I'll definitely be around. And you'll hopefully hear more about, future analog crew programs and what's happening with the Sensoria program, because there's definitely more on the horizon with that.
Always glad to hear it, and I was actually really glad to have the team on a couple months ago. Time doesn't matter anymore. But at one point, I think we were I was one of the first people to have the entire team on. It was great to have you all do that and come and speak with us about all the incredible things that you're doing. Micaiah, thank you so much for coming on and joining us today.
Thank you. Yeah, have a good rest of the day.
Will do. Bye. And next up, we have Morgan Irons, and we've got to talk to her about all things ecology on Mars. How are you doing?
Doing well, Ron. Running on a few hours of sleep as well, so I think we're both sleep deprived right now.
Just a little bit cross-eyed, but it'll be okay. We'll get through it. So, if we're going to talk about Mars, then we got to talk about you were really one of the first people that I was impressed by in the industry. I went to my very first event, and I went to the Mars Society convention, and that was the first time I saw you talking. I met you and your dad, and just the setup and the video and the presentation that you did. You could tell, obviously, this is something you're very passionate about. I know it's something you're continuing to work on now. So if you want to tell everybody a little bit about what it is you do and why this is important to the future of humans on Mars.
Yeah, definitely. So currently I'm a PhD student at Cornell University in the field of soil and crop sciences. I work with Dr. Johannes Lehmann. And the research that I work on currently focuses on microbial and organomineral stabilization mechanisms in soil aggregates and their contribution to the persistence and long-term sequestration of soil organic matter and carbon. So that's the student academic side of what I do. On the business industry side of what I do, I'm also the founder and chief science officer of the space and agricultural business startup Deep Space Ecology, which works to address the challenges of human sustainability and food insecurity in the deep spaces of Earth, the Moon, Mars, and beyond.
So you're working on it now, and I'm a little jealous of where you get to go to school at, and it seems like you're just breezing through everything as you always do. But so how is school going? I mean, I know that this is a dream coming true, and sometimes we see you disappear for a little bit, and you come back with a million new awesome things to talk about. So catch us up a little bit about what it's like to go to the school.
Yes, the school, Cornell University, where their two loves are agriculture and space exploration. So that was one of the reasons why I decided to go to Cornell, besides being able to work with my number one pick advisor for my PhD, Dr. Lehman, is that there's so much synergy here when it comes to collaborative research and doing everything space exploration and understanding the fundamentals and applicational side of agriculture. And my research helps cross those two together, where I decided not to go to a space-focused university for astrobiology because I really wanted to understand the fundamentals of how ecological systems, how soil systems work here on Earth, and then apply that knowledge to a space environment context. We're doing my PhD. I'm going into my third year. Things are slowly moving. We've had some delays with some of the experiments that I'm working on, some experiments that are also going into space. So I've had to deal with those delays due to the quarantine and the pandemic situation. And I've also been getting really much involved in racial justice and inclusionary practices and procedures and events here at Cornell's campus as well to try to increase diversity, increase inclusion in our conversations, and as well in our department. So I've been busy with the research side of things, with the social racial justice side of things, as well as just trying to relax and focus on my mental health as well, because anyone who's gone through a graduate program, especially a PhD program, understands how much mental energy and exhaustion you experience throughout the entire degree process.
You all continue to terrify me of that. I'm like, I want to be an astrophysicist someday. Then I met Brandon Kahn. He's like, you got to be an astrodynamicist someday. We need more. And then I heard what everybody went through. I'm like, I'm going to keep doing social media stuff and making enough money to pay for this because it's really expensive. But I'm glad you're doing well at it. And one of the things I definitely want to touch on is with deep space ecology. I love the tagline. I want to make sure I get it right, so I brought it up. Building oases on Earth and beyond is just bravo. Like, how can you not be want to know more about that? So I want to share with everybody a little bit about deep space ecology and kind of what you see it as. I mean, because it says Earth, it's here and beyond. So what connects it to Earth, and what did we learn here is going to take us there, or vice versa? So can you share a little bit of that one?
Yeah, so a lot of people have to understand that when we're talking about Earth agriculture and space agriculture, that there are a lot of similar challenges in both of these realms. We're talking about extreme environment exposure. We have environments here on Earth that are considered extreme environments, as well as environments that are undergoing climate change and environmental degradation, where they're becoming more of an extreme climactic setting. And that affects how we approach agricultural practices. And so there's a lot of research going into how we shift agriculture in a sustainable way here on Earth. And it's very important that in the space industry, especially when we're talking about food security in space and understanding how we can set up agroecological systems anywhere people end up going, we need to understand how we can continue the communication and the research and spin in the ideas and the practices from the space industry into agriculture here on Earth and vice versa. And then, of course, I mentioned food security. Food security, when you're talking about that, there's several dimensions that you have to consider. You have to consider availability, access, utilization, and stability. And the same dimensions here on Earth are the same dimensions we have to address in space. We have to have a system that has food available to the crew members. And that availability can be immediate availability, where you have an agricultural system there in the community, in the habitation system, or are we talking about availability in terms of relying on a supply chain, which can be financially and politically unstable? And then when we talk about access, being able to actually access the food, whether it's due to financial situations, being able to afford the access to that food, or food restrictions, if you have crew members who have food allergies, and so that will affect what plants you grow and what food you can use, as well as even thinking about the social side of things with food cultures. And if you have a diverse diverse members on your crew and they're coming from different food cultures, how can you incorporate ecology from these different cultures so that they can have that emotional, mental, refreshing experience of eating a menu dish on Mars that they would eat in their hometown here on Earth. So availability and access, utilization, being able to actually take those resources from your agroecological system and make them into something. So how can we make a food secure system through utilization, as well as stability when we're talking about Mars, as well as any community here on Earth that is experiencing food insecurity, we're talking about stability. Is your system, is your agricultural system able to survive when challenges come up? Is it a long-term adaptable system, or do you have to rely on that supply chain to bring supplies into your system? So there's a lot of similarities between what we see here on Earth with Earth agriculture as well as the space industry. And we also have to think about what's happening here on Earth with the agricultural industry. There's this current movement that's been growing in STEAM, and it's something where we're seeing faculty members brought on to at the university level because of this. It's the digital agriculture movement, where a lot of agricultural businesses and industry here on Earth are incorporating robotics and sensors and more advanced environmental controls that allow them to reduce the human labor that they need, as well as increasing production efficiency. So this technology and these systems and these protocols that are being developed here on Earth for digital agriculture can be spun into how we approach these things when it comes to space agriculture. But you really don't see a lot of conversations happening between the agricultural industry here on Earth and what's happening in the space industry. And that's something that I like to encourage through my social media, through the talks that I give, through the research that I do, is increasing these connections and this communication, because there's just so many questions that are being asked where the answer could literally be the farmer right down the road is doing something that could be applicable to how you would approach that problem on Mars.
And I mean, what a perfect way to wrap up. Thank you for sharing what you do, and share with everybody where they can find you, where they can find more about deep space ecology. And thank you for coming on and always being way smarter than me and teaching me things.
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Astroecologist. I'm also on Twitter.
Nobody gets it right.
I know. I'm like, which hand is it? So that's my Instagram handle. I'm on Twitter at AstroEcoMorgan. You can also find me on Facebook. You can go to deepspaceecology.com as well to learn more about the company.
Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us today. And just keep doing what you're doing. It's always great to catch up with you and hear what you're up to.
Yes. Thank you, Ron. It's wonderful to talk with you as well.
All right. We'll see you soon, Morgan. And before long, Dr. Irons.
Thank you.
Bye. Vera, how's it going? The one and only Vera. How did you say it the other day? Vera Miliani is the way you said it, I believe, whenever you were making sure everybody got it right. It's great to have you on. So you're founder of Mars City Design, and you kind of touch on the last couple of conversations that I've had here. So we're looking a little bit about the habitats and how people are learning to live on possibly live on Mars, definitely live on Mars, and then a little bit about the ecology of it, how we're going to be able to grow food and do these things, and that's a little bit about what you do with Mars City Design, which I was excited to be involved with it some years ago. That's how we met. Our team ended up winning the agriculture division in the first year, and that's when we met and became friends. So let's talk a little bit and let everybody know what Mars City Design is, because this is something that anybody at home can be involved in, and that's what I love. It's citizen science.
Thank you so much, Ron. You have always been a wonderful ally for us, and I'm really happy to be a team again with you as a board of advisor for Explore Mars. I'll give a little bit of the connection of that afterwards. So Mars City Design, we plan a thriving destination for Mars for humans. So we built the prototypes here to test the sustainable and biodegradable materials to build the habitat. And we also treat the process and technology, advancing the technology that we have today so it could respond to the holistic aspects of the master planning, so we can impact the climate change in a positive way for Earth. So the connection with what we were doing about 4 years ago with Explore Mars workshop was to discover how, for me, it was to discover how we planned the architecture for the mission, the whole mission to get to Mars, because it's about perseverance, getting to Mars in February 2021. For that, actually, when you're looking at today's launch, it's really only the middle layer of a tip of the iceberg. It has like the entire planning that I learned from 4 years ago, just by choosing the site, the Jezero crater. It has like about 4 other choices or 5, and it was really interesting how to maximize the whole mission into this one final choice of the destination. It happens that that's like the most important thing to do. So I was really blown away by the fact that the political and the budgeting, of course, was the drive force behind all this that makes that decision as well. But at the same time, the exploration is the main goal, and the main goal is the permanent habitat for humans on this closest planet that may be habitable at some point very soon. So it was very interesting to see, like, the past 5 years, all I'm doing with Mars City Design is to popularize the idea why Mars. And I think now we understand more about why we have to. It's no longer, why Mars. And the thriving destination on Mars will definitely influence the unity that we have to accomplish here on Earth as fellow humans. We have so many conflicts this year, last year, and all our history of time. And this mission is such a long-term mission that it needed some maturity in everybody's mindset to achieve this goal. And we have the international collaboration. It's such a long-term development that needs faith, unity, and actually wisdom of knowledge, not just intellectual knowledge, but knowing, the mature characteristic of the holistic planning. And it makes everything that is impossible suddenly achievable, to have that main character in our human behavior. So it just gave me the hope to see that today's launch was successful. And I was also listening to Mr. Bergenstein about, we have this 26 months window of Mars being aligned to our planet, and that's the only time we could actually launch to Mars. And what's amazing is that if we don't do it, then this rover will cost NASA $500 million just to store it until the next launch. I'm really curious about, the breakdown of how that logic works. But it also taught me that this is how much value of each of our lives. If we don't do something significant like this huge mission, if we don't use this lifetime, how much we are wasting. It's not about how much are you wasting money to go to Mars because Earth needs more attention, but it's about using this money to invest for the benefit of the value we will get back to heal Earth somehow and to give us hope, to let the next generation understand that this is important. Exploration is not about wasting money. Exploration is about creating value that we all have in our lives. Otherwise, you're wasting it.
I mean, wow, you just went down a rabbit hole there, and I'm just like, okay, well, we're on a whole different level right now, and I love that. But I mean, I think that's one of the things that made you, creative enough to create Mars City Design and try to say, hey, how can we create these solutions? And and to invest in each other and what can we do? And there's a really great line, I believe it's Dr. Simon Proctor says it a lot, but Mike Mongo, I think it came from, is that when we solve for space, we solve for Earth. And I think that's a lot of what what your organization does with Mars City Design, and finding these things. And I know that you've got a really big project that's going on, if I remember, in the Mojave Desert, right? And that's been moving forward probably since the last time we talked. So tell everybody a little bit about that, and I want to let them know how they can be involved in Mars City Design as well.
Yeah, this is it's almost like we have passed the first 5 years to build the identity and the community. And now we get to build the physical center. We're very excited about it. I'm sorry I won't be able to say much about this because it's still in the process of building the first structure. So we're still doing R&D. But what's the most amazing is that, this first prototype will solve every aspects of in situ resource utilization. If humans can find, if humans start to go to Mars, and after understanding all that Moxie is doing, and we are experimenting that with the soil in the Mojave that actually NASA used to have the mix of soil for the Mars yard that you could see at the JPL NASA here in Pasadena.
And I mean, everything that you have going on is incredible. And as we wrap up, can you please let everybody know where they can find you and how they can be involved? Like what they, so when is the next Mars City Design contest? I mean, I know you're constantly doing them, and there's always something big coming up. So where can people find you to keep up with all the good things you're up to?
Yeah, so just, follow our Facebook page called Mars City Design, and our website always update the events that we're doing. I think this year is going to be a lot, of course, online. We would like to announce our collaboration with the scientists at Biosphere 2 and the National Geographic sponsored SciMock app that actually teaches us how to use the simulation to build a greenhouse of what you eat and how much oxygen the plants you chose are creating. It's really incredible, and we're learning a lot. And yeah, to join us, just send us an email from the website. It's info@marscitydesign.com. We definitely will have a workshop next year. Hopefully we all can meet and start probably building the first structure together. Thank you.
I'm excited to hear all about it. And thank you so much, Vera, for joining us today and always sharing your wealth of knowledge with us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Bye, Vera.
Bye.
Next up, we have to say congratulations to John Reed, ULA's chief technologist. So we finally secured John like 16 hours ago, and it was such an awesome surprise. So nobody really knew, and it was right about the time I was putting out the social media post we found out, and so that was great. Congratulations, man! I know you guys got to be walking on air over there. It's not like it's you're not. I mean, it's something ULA is known for is making launches happen and succeeding.
Like 140th launch that we've had, so all successful. So that's really kind of awesome. And it's not our first trip to Mars either. We've had 20 different missions that we've successfully launched for Mars. So it's all good and made for a kind of a long night or early morning for me, but that's all right. Happy to be here with you guys.
And I mean, it's always exciting to talk to people that are behind what's happening. I mean, chief technologist, you probably got a little something to do with that rocket that went up today. So let's share a little bit with everybody what you do, and then also a little bit about ULA's rocket, and what's so special about ULA that you guys just it's just one after the other.
A lot of what ULA brings is the team that we have. It really is an awesome team, drawn from experts around the country as the industry has evolved. ULA is a joint venture of Lockheed and Boeing. And while I'm a Martin Marietta heritage, I've been doing rockets at Denver for more than 30 years now. But we've drawn the best of the best from all over the country to come here to Denver and down to Decatur and the Cape to build and launch our rockets. And really it's kind of interesting because this really is a team sport. Even for this mission, you end up
John, we got you just a little choppy. I don't know if you can maybe move closer to wherever you're attached, but for some reason
sure.
It's just going to like a little out. Yep. You sound a little bit like Optimus Prime, which is kind of cool.
Let me make sure there's not anything else going on here. See if that makes it a little bit better.
Yeah, you're clear now. Yeah. So I mean, if you want to repeat like the last 30, 40 seconds or so. Thank you.
Yeah. So I was just saying that I've been doing rockets in Denver for quite a while now, and we've really drawn the team to do rockets from across the country, from the Boeing heritage and Lockheed heritage, and General Dynamics before
we lost it again.
Designing the center stage that we still proved on and build. Let's see.
Yep. We were fine yesterday, and then of course, which is kind of interesting because it's funny that it's been some of the people that are just like some of the top people in technology that for some reason it's like technology is just like ha ha ha, like you had one win today. So we're going to take out your Wi-Fi. We'll take that, right? We'll take a great launch. Yeah. We'll take a great launch and a little bit of a choppy sound, right?
Exactly.
So let's try. We'll give it one more shot here. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to share that it's really a whole team to bring something like the Mars mission together. From Colorado, we have Lockheed building the aeroshell, and we've got Sierra Nevada building the arm and some of that hardware, as well as us building the rocket to launch it.
So, you guys are always up to. Yep.
Go ahead.
So we're gonna have to. What we're gonna end up having to do, John, is that we're gonna have to end up doing a space for live, space for you live, and we're just gonna have to have a whole half hour so that way we can talk about some stuff. So what I'm hoping is that we can maybe we can get one in.
So I'm sure we can.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I'm hoping that we can just hopefully it'll clear up for us for just a minute. You guys had an amazing morning, and you're taking something to Mars, and I know that that's going to mean a lot to you. It's something that you've been doing for so long. You've been, in decades in Denver, working towards these goals of, getting things to space, getting things to Mars. So, what's this morning mean for you? Is it still as exciting as it's always been?
Oh yeah, there's always that nervous pinch in your stomach when you're about to launch. And I think part of what makes ULA Space is we partner with these customers, so we're heavily invested in that mission that NASA has to go to Mars. And so it means as much to us to get this successfully off for them as it does for them to go execute the mission in the end.
And so, John, can you tell us? It was a little bit. We got the majority of the answers, so we're gonna go with one more. And I know you wanted to tease just a little bit that you guys have another thing coming up here soon. So you want to share with everybody the very light things you can tell us about the next launch.
Well, we have another launch coming up next month for the NRO, and we have launches pretty much every month for a while to come. So I would say, follow us on the ULA launch. Information below for social media, for Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or our website even. And we keep that information up to date with what we can share from what the customers are allowing us to say about the upcoming missions.
Wonderful. John, it's been great to have you on today. And we're definitely going to do this again so that way we can dive a little bit more deeply. And you know what? You're right up the road from me. So hopefully I'm going to be able to come up there and visit and maybe tell a little bit of the story about what ULA is up to and all the great things you all are doing here in Colorado.
We'd love to have you.
Awesome. John, thank you for joining us today.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day.
We'll see you soon.
Go Perseverance.
Yeah, baby. And Dr. Shawna Pandya is probably in the middle of helping a patient because that's what she does. She's here. Well, I'm glad you're here. Well, I didn't know if you were or not because you said that clinic was running a little late. So it's been one of those fun days.
Catch right up. I managed to catch up somehow.
You managed to catch up. Well, no surprise. That's kind of what doctors do, right? So, Sean, I want to bring you on today. You're part of Project Possum, and space medicine is kind of your baby, and it's something that's going to be really, really important to what it is that we're doing as we move through the future. So, let's talk a little bit about what you're up to. One, how are you doing during the craziness that is COVID, and you doing okay over there? Not completely, not too bad.
I think life is sometimes like juggling chainsaws that are on fire while walking a tightrope that's been greased. As in, it requires a lot of fine balance, but overall, it's pretty fun and pretty thrilling. So I think that's probably an apt description of my life. But yeah, life is great overall. It's kind of every day is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Am I working on clinic? Am I working on grants? Am I working on space medicine stuff? So yeah, life is great.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And so what I want to bring you on to talk about today is that we're taking more and more steps. We've had so many guests on today talking about all these pieces that are going to, to eventually get humans to Mars. We possibly want to fly life. We're going to do all these things. So it's a really exciting time. But let's be honest, 6 to 8 months on a trip to Mars could be a little taxing on the body. So let's talk a little bit about what it is that we're looking at and, some of the solutions that people like you in space medicine are working on.
Yeah, and so first of all, first thing I want to say is you better really like your crewmates, and you in turn better be a good crewmate because no one wants to be voted off the spaceship. That wouldn't be very fun. So first thing is crew dynamics. You're stuck. So current technologies would get us to Mars within 6 to 9 days, and there's some more further looking technologies that could propose to get us to Mars within 39 days, like the Vasimir rocket, but they're just not a reality yet. So being a good crewmate, NASA talks a lot about good expeditionary behavior is a huge part of it. And then there's just the physiology of space. So for the uninitiated, space has lots of threats to human health. So every 7 billion of us here on Earth have had the luxury of growing up in 1G or 1 gravity. And so when you look at the equivalent on the ISS, it's the exact opposite, 0 gravity. So the fun part is you get to fly, you get to, do things you wouldn't be able to do on Earth, but that takes a toll on every single bodily system, your bones, your muscles, your fluids, your central nervous system, your immune system. So what you can expect over time is that your bones will lose density, your muscles will lose atrophy, you'll become your muscles will atrophy, you will become decompensated, which is why when you look to models like the ISS, crews have to perform 2 hours of aerobic activity, resistive exercise every single day to help that decompensation. But even when they come to Earth, there is that initial orthostatic hypotension or just having all the blood rush to your legs and feeling faint. So the problem when you
it sounded cooler the way you said it, though.
when you translate it to Mars, I mean, could you imagine traveling 9 months in the greatest, most historic feat that humanity has ever done to look forward to stepping onto the surface of Mars, looking forward to plant that flag, only to have that blood rush to your feet again in 1/3 gravity and face plant as the historic moment in humanity? So we need to plan for that. So how do we do that? Is the answer to turn to science fiction and create rotating space stations that can emulate 1/3 gravity? And is that enough? or do we need exoskeletons? So that's that's a whole, just one of a myriad of issues. Radiation is the other. As we go beyond the protective confines of the Van Allen belts, we're exposed to even more harmful forms of radiation, such as galactic cosmic rays. There are some estimates that say the amount of radiation that we could be exposed to is the equivalent of a full body CT scan every 5 to 6 days for 9 months. So we have all of these challenges. And so the takeaway I want anyone listening is to realize that space is trying to kill you, and we have to mitigate for that, especially if we want to go to Mars, not just to survive, but to thrive.
Wonderfully put. Space is trying to kill you, but so I actually, I've talked to you about this, and this is something that we're going to do. We're going to have a future webinar on it with you on it, and we're going to talk to people that are both aquanauts training to be astronauts or astronauts. So they're either aquanauts and training to be an astronaut, or aquanauts and astronauts. And you are really kind of running the gamut of things of learning what the human body goes through, not just for work, but with yourself, with the Project Possum training and everything else. So let's talk a little bit about all the things that you are doing to prepare to one day be a person in space.
Yeah, and so as the audience has heard, I'm part of Project Possum, which in space we love our acronyms. It stands for Polar Suborbital Science of the Upper Mesosphere. It's a citizen scientist astronautics program, and as the name implies, we initially started out studying the upper mesosphere in these clouds called noctilucent clouds, which are thought to be a marker of climate change. And also, as part of that mission, we simulated the mission parameters of going up as a citizen scientist into a suborbital vehicle to get more data about these noctilucent clouds. And just as a byproduct of doing that science, you go high enough beyond the Kármán line where space begins and get the happy byproduct of gaining the astronaut designation. So we haven't flown yet, but that was the initial mandate of the whole project. And since then, we've branched out in so many other areas. For example, testing IVA, or intravehicular activity spacesuits. So we've done that in zero-G and parabolic flight through the National Research Council of Canada. We've tested those spacesuits in the water in off-nominal or crash landing scenarios. I run the operational space medicine course, as well as I'm director of the space medicine group. So coming back to your initial question of what does it take to go to space, really you have to be able to learn across multiple domains. You have to be a good crewmate. You have to be able to tackle tough problems, and also sometimes make really good in the moment tough decisions in critical situations. So I've been involved with this project for 5 years, and it's been a wild ride, but it's been a fun one.
I am fully aware. I had to sit beside you and have you just show off to everybody, and I'm just like, I'm the funny guy.
Hey, it was great. It was great flying with you, and I need to put you on the spot and ask why we haven't done it again.
I got busy, and
you were busy. I got you. I see how it is. You were busy washing your hair that night.
I was busy washing my hair that night. That's exactly what happened. So, let's talk about that. That's one of the exciting things about Project Possum is that, I am no genius. I struggled with. I've only got a couple of years of community college. Something I talk about quite often on shows is that I struggled through it, and I still was able to learn because I was dedicated to it. What it takes to be able to be a part of at least the Advanced Academy class, right? And the thing is that it gives you the opportunity, anybody the opportunity, if you really are excited about it, to be a part of something. And the micro-G flights in particular are just an incredible experience. And it's a room full of brilliant people that work, that have worked for NASA. They do work for ESA. It's people that do a mixture of things like you and Alyssa Carson. And there's just it's such a wide gamut of people that are involved in Project Possum. That's what makes it great. But those micro-G flights are something. And it allows you to test yourself and see exactly what you're going to feel in space. And even if you do fine, you're probably not going to feel good. And it lets you know what's really going on. And I think it's something to talk about. But you in particular can describe that experience in an exceptional way.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough. So first of all, I don't want you to diminish your accomplishments, because you're a fantastic teammate, and you're kind of an example of what the next generation of space and astronauts looks like, right? Because the beauty of commercial space is making this frontier more accessible to anyone, not just scientists, but artists and communicators. So it's incredibly important to ask what happens when we empower anyone to go to space. So then, speaking specifically to parabolic flight, you're right. It's a great analog. And so when we talk about analogs, we mean specifically what, an environment that's analogous to some aspect of the space flight environment. And in this case, you're experiencing the 0G, which, the physiology may not always work out for you. You can get motion sick, but at the end of the day, you still have a mission to perform. So it's this highly operational environment where you're working in a small team. You have a series of 12 to 18 parabolas, and that's how you generate that 0G. When you're falling at the same rate as a plane for 20 to 30 seconds, you have microgravity, and then you can test the science or the technology that you came to test. And if you're feeling off, if you're able to fight it off, you try to accomplish your mission objectives. And sometimes it's not always possible. I've flown, I'd say, over 140 parabolas to date, and it was only on my, I think, 4th campaign that I ended up, getting sick, which was incredibly disappointing. And you feel like you left your team, you've let your team down. But when you have a successful mission, the fact that you achieved what you set out to do, that you achieved your technological and scientific objectives, that you did it with a close, tight-knit team, that you did so in a highly operational environment, and that you get to wear a spacesuit when doing it is pretty darn cool.
I agree 100%. And that's another thing, too, and that's going to be our last question here to wrap up before we go to our next awesome speaker, is the spacesuit. Is that we are doing the Micro G flights to test a spacesuit, Final Frontier design spacesuit. And it's the first commercial, real commercial spacesuit. And it's something to put one of those on, or at least I hear. I was a little for that to be able to fit in one at the time, but it's one of those things that's exciting to say, I'm in a spacesuit in a simulated gravity experience. And I know you did it because we have a picture doing this. And so in a very similar colored shirt that I had on, actually. But let's talk a little bit about being in the spacesuit in a Micro G environment and what that feels like to, touch the beginning of a dream.
Yeah, I think the smile says it all. It's impossible to be in a spacesuit, particularly in zero gravity, and not have a giant smile on your face. And the fact that you're doing it for space, for exploration, to help increase its space worthiness and space flight readiness is incredible. I have worn that suit every campaign for 5 years, and the feeling never ever gets old. It's you're doing hard things sometimes. I think one of the hardest things was in our 3rd year of testing, we went visor down, we were pressurized, and we had to perform all these fine motor movements on a busy board that would simulate what we might be expected to do in a suborbital mission. And you're doing this in 0G, you're fighting against the pressurization of the suit. My busy board was a little bit off kilter, so you're like trying to reach and get things done. It's challenging, it's fun, it's a whirlwind. There's so many things going on at the same time. Everyone has their role. You have your test director, you have your suit assistant, you have your biomedical monitor, you might have other payloads going on, and you just have to be so aware of everything that's going on, what's flying around the cabin, and what what might happen next, and then be ready for going for what your plan B is if you need to, for example, end a parabola early because someone might be getting sick or a payload got loose. So it's fun. I highly recommend it. 10 out of 10 would do again, and I hope to get back up in the air once the pandemic restrictions lift.
Shawna, Dr. Pandya, it's always wonderful to have you on and have you talk about all the stuff and things. We can talk for hours. I think we actually have done a live stream where we talked for like 2.5 hours before and still had stuff to talk about. So thank you for coming on and sharing your expertise with us. And it's always wonderful to have you. And you never know where we're going to have you again. Actually, I think I have you planned for not one, but 2 of the webinars that I want to do this year. So one for space medicine and the other one for the aquanauts and astronauts. So definitely looking forward to more conversations.
I absolutely look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for celebrating what's been an exciting day, and here's to Mars.
And just let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Oh, happy to. So I am at Shawna Pandya, SHAWNA on the Instas and on Twitter. And then on Facebook, I'm Dr. Shawna Pandya, and LinkedIn, Shawna Pandya MD. Just type in Shawna Pandya, you'll find me.
Fantastic, Shawna. Always great to see you. Everybody, big round of applause for Dr. Shawna Pandya. Bye, Shawna. And next up, I'm really excited to have my next guest on, and I'm going to get to this in just a second, but I do want to remind everybody, if you are in Colorado, the Space Foundation Discovery Center is officially open for the day, and we are doing a day on Mars celebrating perseverance. So if you want to learn more about it, come in and check out what's going on with us. We would love to see you. All safety precautions are in place. Make sure you wear your space mask and come in and have some fun with us. So my next guest I've been looking forward to talking to for quite some time now, and we were talking about it just the other day. I mentioned to him that a panel that he was on is still my all-time favorite Space Symposium panel that we ever had. It was you and Dr. Amy Mainzer and Bill Nye, and it was just a bunch of amazing people on stage together, and I love that. So I'm glad I get to talk to you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, hello, welcome from Mars. Now, so amazing to be with all this Mars crowd, inspiring, and really Mars is in our neighborhood now, and we are.
We're there, and I mean, so you have a background in quite a few things when it comes to Mars, and not Mars in the way that we know it, but Mars with ESA, with ExoMars, and with Mars Express.
So yes, I actually have prepared a few goodies for you.
Sure.
Mars Express, some visuals. So if I can pass it, and then I can just flash through these slides.
Sure.
Yeah, excellent. So okay, let's. Oh yeah. So I share that.
Yep, just click share screen, and then it will show you different options that you can pick. And if it's an application, it will be the second one. And if you need to share, like it's a website, you can go all the way over. There we go. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. So yeah, I have prepared this with a crowd of colleagues and friends. Actually, I'm going to talk about Mars Express. This is celebrating more than 16 years at Mars, and we launched 2003. ExoMars with 2 missions launched, one in 2016, Trace Gas Orbiter, and then one we prepare for 2022, ExoMars with a station and with a rover. And I'd like also to talk about a program, EuroMoon Mars, that we have started 10 years ago to engage everybody. So the youngster, also more senior into research, into technology, simulation, and also even art. So, okay, why do we do that? Okay, we want to explore this neighborhood of Earth, Moon, Mars, deep space, and we go through analyzing data, making simulation in the lab, also going in field sites that look like the Moon and Mars, and also doing a simulation to explore the human factors, even having some experiment on the International Space Station as a preparation for this journey to the Moon and Mars. So let's get some goodies from Mars Express, still going strong after more than 16 years in orbit, and having delivered with its instrument, in particular, this stereo camera, beautiful 3D imagery of Mars, showing also some fingerprint of ancient water history of Mars, and studying as well volcanism, studying also craters. And so let's some recent goodies that we have obtained after this many years of surveying the surface of Mars. We could map the minerals that are on the surface, like olivine or plagioclase, and these are also the feedstock for making the soil that could eventually, be inhabited. So also we have mapped the caps of Mars. So we have mapped the polar region, even discovered the water ice in these polar caps, and more recently we have also found with radar some evidence of liquid water at 3 kilometers below the ground. So there is water everywhere, also not only in the polar caps, also in the atmosphere, and we have found water in the tropics of Mars. And in particular, we found some in a region that just 5 million years ago were covered by ice because of this change of tilt of Mars that is going a bit randomly due to the effect of all other planets. So there is ice also buried under these layers. We monitor also the atmosphere of Mars and how it's the plasma around Mars. And we have measured how the atmosphere is escaping as a result of the effect of the solar wind. And so the atmosphere has decreased in density. And so, like 4 billion years ago, it was much denser, even with condition together with some layer of ice that conducted to have liquid water on the surface. Even from the area of astrobiology, which covers also not only habitability, presence of water, but also signs of life, we had some detection of methane. It's a gas that could be of biological origin, but we still have to see other sources of production of this gas. And now with our next mission, the Trace Gas Orbiter, we are measuring that, also comparing to what we do on the surface from the rovers. So just a fast gallery. So with the Mars Express, we have got images. We have looked at the ice at the pole. We have looked at the atmosphere. We found recent periglacial activity, even recent volcanism. So actually some of the ingredients that could make some of the part of Mars still hospitable in the subsurface for life that could have been present there already 4 billion years ago. So that goes to the next mission, ExoMars. So with a program where we launched the first set of elements in 2016 with the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter. So this is well in operation with some instrument that on one hand, NOMAD, we can measure the composition of the atmosphere with very high sensitivity. So we can even detect very trace gases, even of biological interest. Then we have a stereo camera, CASIS, very high resolution, and we have also an advanced composition spectrometer, and a spectrometer that is measuring the presence of hydrogen in the subsurface. And so these are some examples of beautiful imagery, 4.5 meter pixel in stereo. So that's a unique that we could obtain with the CASIS. In particular, this layered deposit at the pole that in fact bear some climatic signals of deposition over the recent times at Mars. You see a very crisp resolution where you can see this layer deposit, but also some interplay with the water ice and also the changing seasonal variation. We have also some deposits of minerals also in layered areas that could come also from the presence of water ice in the subsurface. And there are some terrains also that are eroded with time that unveil very old regions on Mars. These are the type of region we want to explore with the future rovers. Those regions from the time where putative life was present and which has been preserved with time. So, for instance, we have now the Perseverance going to the J0 crater, where we will explore the delta, which is also where we look for organics in this area. And in Europe, we are preparing the next mission. So that's ExoMars rover. That's a collaboration between ESA and Roscosmos, where we are going to have a descent module, and it will emplace a station that is built by Roscosmos, and also a rover built by ESA, with a special characteristics that with this rover, we can go to places at depth, drill, and get some material from 2 meter depth, which is the depth where you need to go if you want to survive. If you have a bacteria, organism, the top 2 meters are irradiated by particle, by also chemical reagents. So you better be in the subsurface. And that's what we try to extract to search for life there. So I wanted to end on other aspects that this was a robotic mission, but also we want to prepare ourselves for the next phase of robotic and human exploration. And for this, we started 10 years ago a program called Your Moon Mars, and where we do lab and field research. We demonstrate instruments. We also test technologies of habitat and how to live there with the different human factors. And also we use that as a platform to train young people with advanced people and to outreach. As for instance, we use the Utah Mars Desert Research Station. So I was commander there. We went there with a crew every year. We send a crew or two of 6 people there. And here, this is the landscape you get on Mars from Mars Express, and you see below the landscape you can see from Mars Desert Observation Station. So a lot of similarities. So you go to these places and you can study the ancient Mars. And okay, that's where we live. So quite a compact area, but great. We have a social area as well as a laboratory. And in the laboratory, we placed instrument, like for instance, X-ray instrument that was provided by NASA Ames. The same type of instrument that is on board Curiosity, that came in. We had a Raman microscope, and we analyze the samples. We search for life like we would be on Mars. We also conduct extravehicular activities. So we send a rover as a pioneer, the scout, and then we follow with the astronaut. We deploy the radar that was built by the Jet Propulsion Lab. We try to drill. So it takes 3 astronauts to drill in Mars, as you can see here. And then you extract the bore that you can analyze. You can analyze the distribution of minerals, organics, and even of life on Earth. And then we plan to do that on Mars in some future. We also do tests nearby, Estec, where I work in Holland, where we had a volcano that exploded, and then we went there with astronauts, rovers, and landers to see what we could do with such facilities on the Moon and Mars. So actually, we also go in caves. Caves are places where humans could survive, and also where you could search for life. And this is, for instance, campaign that we have conducted in Iceland. So every year we go to Iceland. We did the scouting campaign also this year. Even in terms of COVID, we had special measures to go there. And next year we are providing a big campaign in May, where we deploy a Moon-Mars habitat, and we go in these lava tubes and in glacier. So that's some of the views from this year. You see some of my students. So the way we go to the glacier with a equipped vehicle. We even deployed on this glacier an art museum. This is called the Moon Gallery. A gallery of pieces of art that we plan to send to the Moon first, and then later to Mars. Clearly, we want to establish sustainable presence first on the Moon, and then on Mars. On the Moon, so making use of the latest technologies, but also engaging the whole world. We call it Moon Village. So the Moon Village has 7.5 billion inhabitants. These are all citizens of the world, all countries, all age, all disciplines. But we want also not only to get the government, but also the industry, entrepreneur, wealthy people, but also people not wealthy, but which have a brilliant mind that can contribute to this whole endeavor. So we, for instance, deployed some of our prototypes. This is a lander. So you can see here we deployed it in a base, which was both a Moon base and a Mars base. So the Moon base is gray, the Mars base is red, and we could teleoperate it from another continent there. We put some young analog astronauts in this module. This was a picture taken before the 2 weeks immersion, so all smiling, all beautiful. We have also a picture after, and they were still happy because we fed them with a food plant grown in the place, and they could even take care of this food. And I would like to end on another set of projects we have embarked using the ICES facility, which is now operated by the International Moon-Based Alliance, by Anchorages, and to perform short-term mission where we can develop technologies, research that will be relevant for Moon and Mars bases. So these are some of the last campaign we conducted. I was there with Anchorages himself, and we brought some equipment to analyze samples. We flew a drone. So this is a little precursor for Ingenuity. You see, this is our little Ingenuity for Hawaii, very similar to the Ingenuity that will have a short live, but will do a beautiful reconnaissance on the Martian atmosphere. So we perform sortie in the volcanoes, and then this is very similar to what you would encounter on Mars or on the Moon. We discovered some lava tubes, and this year we have started a series of new campaign where we have a crew staying for 2 weeks, 6 people. They come from our blue planet. This is our control station. We bring them to the Moon base. That inside the Moon base, we train them to use all the equipment, even to cook Mars food there, to use the instrument, and then we leave them alone, and we support them at distance. So that's how the base looks. This is a Moon version of the Moon base. You see all black and white, but we have also a Mars version where you have already some effect of the water alteration that makes the soil red. So this is some of our crew: Michaela Musilova, a geologist, Sebastian, Nikki. She's an engineer from STEC. And we are looking for volunteers for the next campaign that will restart from November, December. So all the crowd here listening, please contact us at Moon Mars or me if you would like to be involved as crew, also as a support for the next campaign. These are some of the geologists taking samples, documenting them, doing some of their master research. We found some lava tubes, and also they have a bit of time where they learn to cook, even using just dry food. This is 2 geologist students analyzing, documenting the Mars samples, and we compare that to some of the data we obtained from Mars mission. So that's this time I was not that brave. I did all the support from a mission control room at a very pleasured environment in the Blue Planet lab, but I could direct some of these missions. So we are also looking for volunteers for doing mission control tasks with us. So at the end, to say that's a way we prepare for this next Moon Mars village on Earth. We have some data from missions like Mars Express, ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, from the landers and rovers. We test also the next generation of instrument here on the ground. We have some campaign for this plan in Etna next year. We look also at what you could do from human bases in a technology environment where we can really upgrade them, adapt them, and design what would be the optimal Mars base. But also we look at some terrestrial analog where you put them in areas which are very extreme. And all this is done also in mind of putting together some of the team of the young Moon and Mars explorers that are going to work in all disciplines to prepare the next step, which would be installing our humanity beyond a single planet. And this will go also with a number of new disciplines from humanities. We have artists, designer, architect, working with the scientists, the engineers, the rocket scientists. So that's, I think, the way we can all be part of this Moon Mars village. Thank you very much.
That was wonderful. Well, okay, so when you said you had some slides, I didn't know you were going to give us a master class on everything that you're doing. Yeah. So I had to admit, I was like sitting there like, well, thank you. That was awesome. Like, and we're nearing the end of the stream anyway, so we got a great couple people that are coming up next. So that was stellar. Thank you so much for sharing that and what you're doing. And we'll definitely have to have a longer conversation in the future and talk more in depth about all the things that you shared.
And thanks for using this platform as well to attract some future collaborators for our program. We call it Moon Mars at the beginning, but we, following Buzz Aldrin's suggestion, we are going to call it Earth Moon Mars. So all continents will be welcome. In any case, we have big operation in Hawaii, US, but we are looking also at activities all worldwide in all these areas, analyzing data, doing instrument, also going on the field, and also doing social or artistic events for everybody.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, so where can people find you if they want to find out more about what you're doing?
Yeah, you can go on we have a platform called Your Moon Mars. You can contact us on Facebook, Your Moon Mars, register there. We have also a platform called Space Moon Mars, which is even broader. So that's the best way. And you can contact also our communication officer. That's Sabrina Kerber. Actually, today, during the launch, we organized a live Your Moon Mars webcast during the launch with a number of speakers as well. So we will also continue to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us today, Professor Wing, and we will see you hopefully soon.
Yeah, certainly. In any case, you're all welcome in Europe when we are there. We will have a Moon Mars workshop in Leiden Old Observatory, 12-13 September. We'll have also Moon Mars Habitat Architecture workshop in Vienna on 19 September. So you are all welcome to join. And then we have a campaign where we will be in a moon base, also Mars base in Poland for 2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
Compact. And then we are planning a campaign in Hawaii at International Moon Base Alliance, ISIS, in November, December. So there we are also looking for partners for this year, but also for the next year.
Wonderful. Thank you once again for joining us. We appreciate you, and we'll see you in a future stream, I hope.
Okay, excellent. Yes, thank you.
Russ Glenn, how's it going, sir? Director of Education at SLU. We just saw some of the most beautiful pictures that you are ever going to see of Mars. And, that's what's incredible about Dr. Foyne and what he does. But SLU allows people, there's a lot of people out there today that are interested in Mars. They think that it's too far away from them. They can't do anything about it. But the wonderful thing about SLU is that I can go on there right now and set a mission, and a telescope will take a picture of Mars for me tonight, and then I can show it to all my friends. And if you don't think that's the coolest thing in the world, then we can't be friends. So let's talk a little bit about about what you do at SLU, what SLU is. Give us a breakdown.
Yeah, sure. Ron, good to see you, man. How you been?
Good to see you too.
Yeah.
Good, man. I slept for 45 minutes and I'm on the, let's see, hold on, 5, 6. I'm on the 8th straight hour of live streaming or something like that. So,
it's good. It's good. Well, at least you've got your fall laid out for you, though. Your speaker just invited you to Europe for the fall, so I think you're set and ready to go. Can I tag along? This sounds really good.
That's like, Rich, I'm going to have to take some vacation in the fall. I mean, if we can leave the country. But
this is true.
It's wonderful to have you on and talk a little bit about what you all do. If you want to share your screen, if you want to share that first, if you want to answer some questions first.
Yeah, no, I think I'm going to share the screen. What I love about SLU is the fact that we've got the ability to wait, hold on a second. Application window. Okay, there we go. We're giving people the opportunity to explore space for themselves, right? So those are amazing images. I mean, certainly, the robots on Mars are always returning great images and great data. We've got orbiters, but we are going to let you explore space yourself using SLU. So SLU is a network of telescopes around the world, and you get to go and capture the images. So you can jump on the live feeds, you can plan a mission, and I'll show you a little bit about that in a moment. But here you go. Here's some images of Mars that we've got here. You can see you can see those dark areas, those low albedo areas. These are the areas that have been scoured of dust as compared to the more orange area. You can see they're covered with dust. And you can even get a peek of the pole down there. Here's another nice one from our scopes that are down in Chile. So we've got 2 observatories, one in the northern hemisphere, one in the southern hemisphere. So you get complementary views of the skies. And you're in control of these telescopes. You can plan the missions. You can join missions with other people. You can collect your images and use those images in our quests, which are a way we have made astronomy education engaging, experiential, fun. So my job, I'm the director of education. And, what I love, I come from a career teaching background. And what I love is putting the power of these telescopes in the hands of students. And these are students, elementary, middle school, high school, college age. They can all benefit from having the opportunity to explore space for themselves. And so, here we are exploring Mars, but you have access to you have access to everything that's visible in the northern and southern hemisphere. So, beautiful stuff. Beautiful images. We do have a huge focus on education. And so you'll see we have a lot of graphics to help people contextualize what they're seeing, to help put those images that they're collecting into a framework so they start understanding the night sky. So here we are, a little infographic. Why is Mars currently displaying a 92% phase? So, actually currently it's about 86% phase, but, this is just a way that we can start to understand and get a perspective on our solar system that you may not have. And it's hard to get time on these telescopes, but not with SLU. So you can just jump right in, join SLU either with a classroom or individually, and you can start exploring space for yourself. I love it when everybody loves a good conjunction. Here's one through a telescope, which is pretty cool. Mars and Neptune, not one you're gonna be able to make out with your naked eye. So telescopes will help you out on that. This is an awesome image of Mars. You might notice though it's a little bit washed out. So here you are looking at Mars, participating in one of its global dust storms. So how cool is that? This image would normally you'd be able to see those dark and light areas a lot better, but not when there's a global dust storm going on, and here you are, you're jumping right in and enjoying it, while it's happening. And that's really one of the cool things, is that it's live. You jump on the telescopes and you're getting those live images, and you're able to collect them. You can take images very easily. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. And then you can use those images in our quests, which make it a lot of fun. So you're building up an image collection, and you're then using those images to learn about space and earn gravity points, which is how we've made SLU into a massive multiplayer game. So there's a lot of great stuff going on. There's great science going on, and there's also great fun going on. And we have an amazing community. And I just want to, show you that. Here's another image. This is a little, I guess we've got a little, Facebook post blocking this a little bit, but here's Mars photobombing Pluto. So that's a fun way of looking at it. Although I'm not sure who's photobombing whom here, right? Is it Pluto photobombing Mars, or Mars photobombing Pluto? Either of those are candidates for the photobombing that's going on right here. So, these are all images that were taken with our telescopes. We have 10 telescopes, 6 of them on the Canary Islands, just off the coast of Morocco, and then 4 down in Chile. So you get the whole sky at your disposal, and you can jump right in. Ron, is it okay if I share a little bit from the SLU website?
Of course you can. No, I was going to say too. Well, hold on a second. If you give me a minute. I want to steal the screen from you for a particular reason here.
That's all right.
Because I got to share some of my
look at
pictures.
you. Excellent. Yeah, this is great. This is great. This could take a while. I'm just saying, I don't know. My photo hub has thousands of pictures, so we could be here a while. I don't know if we want to get into that, but what have you got, Ron? What have you collected lately that's been that's sort of inspired you? Do you have any favorites?
Yeah, so I mean, the one thing that I really, really love, and let me bring this up here again, is the one that started it all for me is the fact that I was able to take a picture of this and take such a beautiful picture of this makes me really happy, because it started for me. Let me
look at you. You're building the suspense. Dun, dun,
I'm building
dun.
the suspense.
What's it going to be? What's it going to be?
So that is the photo that I took of the image that basically changed my life from Cosmos, the TV show that can change my life. So being able to take that. So all I did was schedule this mission. SLU did everything else for me. It's like, and then I was able to look at it, and it has a breakdown, and it tells me everything that I want to know about this thing, which I just think is the coolest thing in the world as an astronomy, soon to be astronomy major. I'm just fascinated by it. There's just so many awesome ones, and I've got tons more, but I want you to show them a little bit, because we're coming near the end of the stream, and we still have one more guest, and I want to give Chris plenty of time. Chris Carberry, actually, who you probably know of from CEO of Explore Mars, is going to come on, talk about getting humans to Mars. But let's show a little bit about how. Let me bring this back up for you at the stream, and show us a little bit about SLU, about just how easy it is for people to use.
Perfect. So when you log into SLU, you're going to have a page. Similar to this, your name will be here. Your level, you level up by becoming a new astronomer. So as you earn gravity points, you become a new astronomer, and you move forward. We've got some recent Hubble astronomers that have earned 100,000 gravity points. Let me tell you, that's quite an achievement. You got to do a lot on SLU to do that. But to plan a mission, well, first of all, you go to these. I always tell people, jump to the telescope icon right here, because this is going to tell you what telescopes are actually live right now. Now, everything, it's not dark. We don't have darkness in Chile or Canary Islands right now, but we do have a dedicated solar scope. So, we can go right to our solar scope and get a live view of, the sun and that enormous prominence. I mean, that's absolutely gorgeous. And the cool thing about this, so, from a teaching perspective, which is I'm a career teacher. I've been in the classroom teaching physics, environmental science, astronomy-based physics, astronomy. The cool thing about this is you can visit this every day, and you can collect these images. You can watch this prominence change over time. You saw, I just took a picture. That picture is now saved in my photo hub. For a student to be able to do that, to put this in the hands of a student to be able to do their own analysis of an astronomical object is really, really powerful. But you can see we have a bunch of other telescopes. These are going to be coming online this evening, and looking all around, and you can plan a mission to them very simply. So to plan a mission.
Real quick, there's one thing that I do want to mention for people is when he says student, that does not mean just kids. because I use this thing. And one of the very first missions that you do when it starts teaching you all this stuff is you go and take pictures of the sun and you see different things on it. I have my sun pictures in a different folder. And that's one of the coolest things about it is that, like, it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to be able to connect with it. It's I call it like the Khan Academy of astronomy.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. When I talk about students, certainly I oftentimes think about my own students that I've taught, but a lot of those students are now grown up. So I hope we get students of all ages to jump in here. Everybody can benefit from a cosmic perspective, and everyone can benefit from joining our community. We all interact. We share information on our clubs. We share information through our observations. We're a community learning about space together, and that's really a special thing. We have tons of live shows that you can jump into from a Zoom, and you can ask questions of our astronomers. We have an amazing astronomer named Paul Cox and other guests that come on our shows. So you can jump in, and all those shows are open to members. We certainly do a lot of shows that are also public shows. But for members, you can actually come in and ask questions live, which is really, really fantastic. Now, to set up a mission, I do want to show this really quickly because it's super easy. So you can choose a category from our SLU 1000. These are the 1,000 most interesting objects. For more advanced astronomy students, you can also choose by constellation, catalog, telescope. You can plan a coordinate mission. So if you know the right ascension and declination that you want to point the scope to, you can set that up. But a lot of people just jump down here. They want to learn about planets. They go here. This tells them all the planets that are visible. Mars is the planet of the day, I think. So let's go ahead and preview a mission to Mars. This now optimizes our mission to Mars, picks our telescope, picks our time. We click schedule, and now we've got a mission planned to Mars. I'm going to get a reminder of that mission in my email so I can hopefully go to it live. But if I can't make it live for some reason, maybe I'm at dinner, maybe I'm doing something else, maybe I'm hosting a live cast like Ron's doing right now. It's going to save some images for me, and they'll be there when I wake up in the morning. So we make it really simple to start, and then we actually add layers of complexity for people who are more advanced in their study of astronomy. So a lot of great stuff going on here. As I mentioned, we have these quests. Quests are how we've taken astronomy concepts and we've gamified them, made them a lot of fun. So here's our starter quests right here. You're going to learn about some of the real common objects that we might see, like the sun, the moon, the Pleiades. But we've got tons of quests, and you can jump into any of them. They're 100, 200, 300 level, so you can work your way up. You earn gravity points when you complete a quest. You learn about space completing quests. You have a lot of fun completing quests. There's a lot of great stuff going on here. I just can't talk enough about it. Certainly invite all the students out there to join us, or talk to your teachers. Join us as a classroom. It's even better when we're exploring space together. So, yeah. Anything else, Ron? You've got going on? Any other questions you got for me?
I don't, man. I mean, that's the thing about being on it. I mean, let's put it this way. It's so good that we have our own subscription at Space Foundation Discovery Center. So I mean, it really is. It's a great thing. One of the things that I do love is that the ability to be able to take these pictures and share them out and share them on social media. Everybody goes to a star party, and whenever they're out, they want to take their phone. They hope they get a good picture of something. Like, you can take such stunning pictures of it. And one of the things that I love so much about it is that it's affordable. Like, you're not talking about like $50 or $100 a month, which, it certainly could be something that's only, $20, $50 for a year, $100 for a year. And the $100 level lets you do a lot. And then I know that there's the higher end, and the higher end is just next level. And that's still only a few $100s a year. And it really, in a way, is a way for people to get in and learn astronomy. And if you're scared of astronomy, and if you feel like maybe you're a little bit of an introvert, like some people can be, or getting into a new group, you walk into an astronomical society. That's the other thing that I recommend. But sometimes people feel that can be intimidating. I still say you should do that. But this allows you to kind of put your toes in the water and kind of see what it is that you might be interested in. And I think that's one of the great things about it, man. I love the platform, and love what you're doing with the education stuff, man. You're a wonderful addition to the team. Obviously a big fan of Paul. So I will tell you this: if it's a late night stream, Paul has got an almost Carl Sagan way about him, and he's just so laid back. and he might put you to sleep in like the best way possible because he'll be talking about the stars. I'm like, I want him to read like Cosmos or something. You know what I mean? It's like billions and billions of years ago. I'm like, yes, Paul, get it. And then like it's just great. But it's so great to be able to jump on those, especially the Zoom calls that you were talking about if you're part of it. And you got a group of people that are, space nerds just like you, and they're all ages from all over the world. And the SLU ambassador thing is the last thing I want to mention to you before we bring Chris on, is that that's a new thing that I've been seeing around is the SLU ambassadors. Like Prime Vera has been doing it. Miracle from I forgot what part of Africa he's from now. I think Nigeria. But there's a lot of great people from all over the world that are jumping in on that. I just love that platform.
I tell you what, yeah. I mean, we're always looking for ambassadors, people who are excited about space. I mean, this is and want to share what they're learning, share their experiences with the world. That's what education is all about, is when we share our information with each other. So the ambassadors are our fantastic program. I mean, our education program is going wonderfully. We've got tons of schools who have joined us in the past and are joining us in the fall. We're great in the classroom. We're also great as a remote learning opportunity. We're launching a series of homeschool lessons. So if you're a homeschooler and you want to learn about space in a guided way, we're going to support you in that. This is what we're here for. We're mission oriented. We want for people to learn about space, enjoy space, get a cosmic perspective. SLU can help you do that. So come to SLU.com. Look us up on social media at SLU or at SLU EDU. Follow us. We're excited about this stuff. We want you to be excited about it too. And you're watching this live stream right now, so you're probably pretty excited about space or thinking about becoming excited about space. So now's the time.
I agree with you 100%. And we should deem you like the SLU ambassador. Wonderful to have you on today, Russ, and talk about it.
Those guys are on a whole other level. Level.
They're wonderful. And and many of them are friends of mine, especially the person that runs the ambassador program. She's wonderful. Yeah. So great to have you on, man. Thank you so much for talking with us about it. It's something that I kind of scream to the heavens about that people should use. And if you're interested in astronomy, that's the way to go. So we've got one more guest coming up. Russell, thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate it, sir.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. And how better to end my day of live streaming than to have a conversation with the person that I started my live streaming day with at whatever time in the morning that was. How are you doing, Chris? Are you still awake?
Good. I see you're still hanging in there. Maybe for a record for longest continuous Mars viewing.
I may have heard it today. If the original one started at 2 a.m. my time and it's 11 a.m. my time. Let's see how long you can go like a marathon. I mean, hey, you know what? That might be
you could go until landing.
Go until landing. Can you imagine? My eyes are all sunken in, like we're talking about the landing. But you've been on a few of the shows with me now, so I think some people know you, but there's always new faces here. So let everybody know who you are and what exactly Explore Mars is.
Well, I'm CEO of Explore Mars, a nonprofit, as you can guess, a nonprofit that is dedicated to sending humans to Mars or advancing the cause of sending humans to Mars by the 2030s. And we run the largest annual conference focused on sending humans to Mars called, appropriately enough, the Humans to Mars Summit every year. And as with most conferences this year, it was delayed. Normally it was in May. So we are now going to have our virtual Humans to Mars Summit on August 31st through September 3rd. So we hope everybody can come on. But there's not really enough time to go through everything we do. But we've been a very effective group for the last decade. And of course, we were happy when you came on to help run our social media and programs like the one you were running before this.
Glad to be a part of it, and it's such a great organization. And I'm a Mars fan. Like I do Mars for a whole lot of different things. Bill Hargrader and I started I Love Mars, the social media platform, some years ago. That's how we ended up meeting and speaking on the the Humans to Mars Summit stage. Like Red Planet Radio for Mars Society. Like I love Mars. So obviously there's a reason that without coffee and only 45 minutes of sleep, I'm still very much awake because it's just been wonderful conversation after wonderful conversation. And there was so much happening this morning. We got to see and experience something for me that was new, even though it was virtual. I was excited about Insight, but there's something about the rovers that just take it to that next level. And especially one of my favorite things to talk about, and I've done it a couple times with an earlier guest, Dr. Graham Lau, is that search for life. And, we're looking for life, and this is the first mission that is really, that's the number one piece of what this is that search for life. So why the search for life, and what do you think that means for the human exploration of Mars?
Well, complicated question. And plus, it's not the only mission this year that's searching for life.
Sure.
The Chinese mission is also searching for life as well. So, but this is a very important question. It could completely transform our perception of life in the universe. We've speculated, we've talked about the prospect of life on other planets. And of course, when we're talking about this, we're talking about microbial life. There may well be more complicated, there may be intelligent life somewhere in the universe, but not on Mars. When we're talking about life on Mars, it's almost certainly microbial life. And so if we can confirm that Mars had in the past sustained life or currently has life, that would completely transform our perspective of life in the whole universe. Imagine that. 2 planets side by side in the same solar system that have life. Now, one question that has to be answered with that, or multiple questions really, was there a separate genesis? Meaning, is it a new branch of life that developed on Mars, or was life seeded back and forth between Earth and Mars? We have traded debris for millions and billions of years. We find Martian meteorites here on Earth. One theory is that life on Earth may have come from Mars originally. So it will be interesting to see if it's a separate genesis, a separate branch of life. But even if it isn't, that's another story, another fascinating story. So bottom line is it would transform our understanding of life in the universe. But as for sending humans, it also has implications for planetary protection and just protecting the astronauts in general. We will have to take precautions, which we were planning to anyway. NASA recently announced a plan to re-examine the rules for planetary protection. So there's going to be a lot of strict guidelines going down to be able to not only search for life or examine the life if we've already found it, but also be able to investigate, to explore, but also live off the land or utilize the resources. And that's where it gets complicated, because the places we want to go, the places with the best science, and the places we're likely to be able to utilize the resources are also probably the places that would have indigenous life on Mars. So there is that balance, that rub that we have to deal with, but I'm sure we will find a way of accomplishing both.
And humans to Mars. Let's ask the quick question, because this is going to be a question I know has a quick answer. When do you think we're going to get humans on Mars?
By the mid-2030s. Depending on who you ask. If we can keep momentum up with the program of record, I think we can certainly make that goal. There are a lot of other players in the community that have stated that they plan to get to Mars earlier. They can, that's great, but there's just so much momentum right now. Now, the trick will be, if we're going back to the moon, we have to do it in a way that actually helps advance human missions to Mars rather than hinder them. I think we can all imagine a plan that would develop on the moon where it was so moon focused that it actually delayed Mars. But most of the planners now, most of the policy people that we speak to now are really quite committed to making sure that as we're going to the moon, we are preparing for Mars and finding ways to feed forward the capabilities for the moon onwards to Mars.
So, hold on a second, let me back out there. If I hit the right button, getting at the end, man, I'm hitting every button possible. So, there's a lot of pieces to it, and I think that's one of the reasons that I really love the Humans to Mars Summit. When it comes down to it, one of my favorite conferences, and I've been to quite a few, is that there's so many pieces to it, and I think there's something that the first part of it I want to talk about is that it's so diverse in the topics that come up that you might not think have anything to do with Mars. And I think it was actually one of both of ours favorites last year. And I can't remember exactly what it was called now, but it was basically about eating on Mars. Was it called Feeding Mars?
Feeding Mars, yeah.
Okay, the one last year was too. Same as the panel.
We just recycled the title.
It's a great name. Why not? But I love that, and it's the idea of taking these technologies that we see here, like cell-based meat and synthetic biology, and there's always these next unique discussions of it because you're talking about, you know, settling another world. So all the sciences that are here are going there. So fill us in on one, like maybe the one thing that just blew your mind that was one of your favorites in the last few years. And I know that's one of them, so you can feel free to talk about that one. But I know that there's another one that's not necessarily the science of Mars with the African Girls Robotics team that I know was particularly a fun one for you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think just kind of put this in a broader context, as you were mentioning. There are all these unusual topics that we highlight, but they're all necessary. People tend to think about sending humans to Mars and they focus on the rockets, you know, and the landing vehicle, the crew vehicles, all required for going to Mars, of course. But if we're going to go there to stay, we're going to go there sustainably. If we have hope to have people have actual settlements on Mars, there are so many other technologies, so many other capabilities that we'll need. We need to learn how to grow food. And that gets to what you were just saying with Feeding Mars. That panel had, of course, people talking about agriculture, cell-grown meat, synthetic biology, 3D printed food. And so there are all these capabilities like that. There's also things like requirements like extracting water or utilization of water so that you can, recycle it properly or extract it from arid areas or manufacture it out of the atmosphere along with some CO2. Along with some hydrogen as well. But it's other technologies like AI or, even environmental systems. Think of the advances we may get in environmental systems as we're creating ecosystems to be self-sufficient, to be able to last like 3 years. There could be so many applications we could bring back to Earth as well. But yeah, I think that panel was certainly one of my favorites last year. The Afghan Girls Robotics team was certainly one of them as well, particularly since those young women literally risked their lives to study STEM, to study Mars exploration. Literally risked their lives. The Taliban is pretty much out to get them. And so that is inspiring that people of that age, teenagers, would, risk their lives, their families' lives, to be able to pursue education, pursue STEM, and to pursue space exploration.
So, one final question as we wrap up here is, tell everybody a little bit about this virtual version of Humans to Mars Summit. Everybody can access it. It's within a range that I think that is affordable for anybody. And what you're kind of excited about it, it allows the possibility to do some new things and reach out to some people that just can't travel. So there's a lot to that.
Well, there is. And for years, I've had people come up and say, is it always going to be in DC? It usually is in DC. Not usually, it's always in DC. And, people always ask, can you do it on the West Coast? Can we do it in Europe? And we do actually hope to do a version of this live in all these areas. But this is a great opportunity for everybody to be able to come participate in it. It's going to be fairly impressive. We have an amazing lineup of speakers coming. We'll be announcing more of them very soon. And with these new features, these new online features, and thankfully with your help, Ron, and with Wade Holler's help and Janet Ivy's, we've been getting really quite good at using these online platforms. And so I think we're going to be able to do something quite unique with the Humans to Mars Summit, which is taking place on August 31st to September 3rd. And we'll be talking once again, we'll be discussing all those topics, the key Mars topics like architecture and science. But we're also looking at things like, if I can remember any of them off the top of my head, we'll be looking at diversity within the space community. We'll be looking at how what lessons we can learn from COVID that can be applied to Mars. And there really are quite a few of them as well. And there are a whole bunch of other topics that you should go online. We'll be posting our agenda within the next few days. So all that information will be going up on the exploremars.org website pretty soon. But we hope you'll all come. It's going to be quite an event.
Wonderful, wonderful stuff, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us. And normally I'm the person that does this, but you want to tell everybody where you can find you on Explore Mars on social media.
Just go to exploremars.org. And if they want to contact us, just email us at info@exploremars.org.
Awesome. Chris, thanks for being our final guest today, and I'll talk to you soon.
Happy to help close it out. Thank you, Ron.
All right, everyone. Well, if I go there we go. Let's reverse that. Everybody, thank you so much for coming on this live stream with us today. Over 3 hours of amazing people in the space industry doing incredible things. We do want to remember to invite you to come and see us at the Space Foundation Discovery Center. If you missed the beginning of the show, we are absolutely open. We're even having a day on Mars celebrating perseverance happening right now. So if you want to learn more about Mars, you want to learn more about the missions that are going on, you can join us and see. And we have a lot of things coming up. I now have a new webinar series. We're going to be talking about space, Australian Space Agency. We're going to be talking about the overview effect with some wonderful people in August. We have a new series called Blast Off with our curator, Rachel English, who's discussing a little bit behind the scenes of what happens in the Space Museum, as well as the cool history of some of our artifacts. All that and more can be found on our websites. First, check out discoverspace.org for all of our educational materials. And the other one is spacefoundation.org. We've always got new stuff going on. So thank you, everybody, so much for joining our live stream, and we will see you on the next one.